Welcome back to Only Talk Sports, and tonight we've got the WCC championship game, and it's between familiar foes with the Gonzaga Bulldogs and the St. Mary's Gales. These two teams have faced each other so many times in the WCC tournament, and most of the time Gonzaga does get the best of St. Mary's. The last time St. Mary's knocked off Gonzaga in the WCC tournament was back in 2019, and that's the last time Gonzaga hasn't won the WCC tournament, because Gonzaga has won every single WCC tournament since 2013. They've dominated the event, and under Mark Few, Gonzaga is like 52-5 in WCC tournament games, which is absolutely unbelievable. So judging off the history, you would think that Gonzaga is going to be able to win this game, but St. Mary's has a fantastic team, and they actually have a better record in WCC play this season at 15-1 in the conference, whereas Gonzaga finished 14-2. St. Mary's knocked off Gonzaga on the road earlier this season, but Gonzaga's been playing much better basketball lately. They were able to knock off St. Mary's in Moraga, California a couple of weeks ago, and that was a huge win for Gonzaga because it got them off of the NCAA tournament bubble. Now both Gonzaga and St. Mary's are locks for the NCAA tournament, no matter what happens in this game. Absolutely does not matter whoever loses. We know that these two teams are definitely going to be in March Madness. They both deserve it. Gonzaga came on strong down the stretch of the season, whereas St. Mary's, outside of a rough start of the season where they were 3-4, they've been playing great ball ever since, and they have a lead right now, 9-6 over the Gonzaga Bulldogs. They're playing very good basketball to start this game. They've been playing good basketball outside of that game against Gonzaga a couple weeks ago for the end of the rest of the season. They've been great. Gonzaga, however, they have been a little bit inconsistent at times this season, but they've come on strong late down the stretch of the season. And in the WCC tournament, Gonzaga blew out San Francisco. And what's ironic about that is that Gonzaga blew out San Francisco in the second half all three times that they played, especially the last two times. The first matchup between the two teams was kind of close, but Gonzaga pulled away. But they always were able to pull away in the second half. St. Mary's knocked off Santa Clara in the semifinals to get here, but both teams playing so well. And it's on ESPN, an early game as well at 9 o'clock. It's early for the WCC, so there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on this game. Appreciate everybody for being here so far. We got Jackson Johnson saying, "What's up? Only Talk Sports Nation." Appreciate you for being here, Jackson. Jeff says, "I'm here too for a bit." Hey, Jackson, how's it going? Appreciate you for being here. And then we got Dave Valensky in the house. Appreciate you for stopping by. Says, "How's it going, everybody? It's the most exciting time of the year for college basketball fans." Absolutely. It's March Madness, even though March Madness isn't here yet, because the conference tournaments can be just as crazy. Graham EK, though, on the left block, just missed a short post shot for the Bulldogs, and St. Mary's is still up 9-6. Gonzaga down by 3 early, but we know Gonzaga has been a fantastic second half team. Top of the key, Aiden Mahaney getting hounded by the Bulldogs defense. He kicks to Mitchell Saxon, who's one of the most underrated bigs in college basketball, and he is fouled. He's going to be going to the line. Dave Valensky says, "Great that Jackson is having a good night tonight." And then he says he is also checking out Jackson's channel. Appreciate that, Dave Valensky. Jackson does some good work, but appreciate everybody for being here. Jeff says, "Oh, it's awesome on March Madness in the month of March, period." I mean, you can't beat it. If you're a college basketball fan, there is no way that you are not paying attention to it during this time of year. If you are not paying attention to it, there's no way you're a true college basketball fan that's absolutely dedicated to the sport, because this is the best time of year. And St. Mary's playing great basketball when it matters most in March, kicking it down low to Mitchell Saxon. He just got a slam dunk, and it's 11-6. Gales in front with a 5-point lead. Nolan Hickman, top of the key. He's been an improved player for Gonzaga down the stretch of the season. He's been playing much better ball compared to last season, where he's kind of an erratic player. He's letting the game come to him now. Like the way Nolan Hickman's playing. Part of the reason Gonzaga's been playing better basketball. Plus also Ben Gregg. Once he was inserted into the starting lineup by Mark Few, there's just been a complete shift in Gonzaga's play. They're more tough. They defend at a higher level. The offense has gotten a lot better, and he's starting to be a threat from three. But St. Mary's, though, scored again. It's 13-6 Gales, and they have the ball again after a miss by the Bulldogs inside the paint. The Gales have been a team lately that starts out very well, but we know Gonzaga, being a second half team, St. Mary's is going to have to play a full 40 minutes if they want to win this one. Augustus Marcelionis actually almost been outperforming Aiden Mahaney lately with how well he's been playing, knocking down the three ball, and he kicks it down low to Mitchell Saxon, and the Gales score again. So it's 15-6. The St. Mary's fandom in the crowd is going absolutely crazy, and you can't blame them. I mean, Gonzaga has more fans. Actually, when I made my preview and prediction for this game, made a short on it, I did pick Gonzaga to knock off St. Mary's because of Gonzaga's track record in the WCC tournament. They're just so consistent. And the way they're playing basketball right now, a completely different Gonzaga team compared to the way that they were playing a few weeks ago. So I did pick Gonzaga to win this game, but the crowd is pro-Gonzaga. We know that there's a lot of St. Mary's fans, and their fandom has increased in the last 15 to 20 years with Randy Bennett at head coach. But I will say with Gonzaga, they have a much bigger fan base, and there's going to be so much noise, especially if Gonzaga gets it going. Right now, the St. Mary's crowd is loud, but once Gonzaga, you would presume, can get back in this game and make a run, they're going to make their presence felt, and that's what they did in the San Francisco game. Once Gonzaga pulled away, it was all she wrote for the Dons. But the WCC, it's a league that has improved tremendously the last few years. We know what Gonzaga's been doing for 2 decades, but St. Mary's, so much better of a team lately. Then you got a team like Santa Clara, getting guys like Jalen Williams and Brandon Pajinski off to the NBA, doing a really good job out there in California at Santa Clara. And then you got San Francisco. They've been consistent. We know that they won 2 titles back in the 50s, but all around, the WCC just has some very good basketball teams. Very competitive conference at the top. BYU was a bastion of consistency for a while, but now they are gone to the Big 12. Mitchell Saxon, he's got 12 points now for the Gales, 12 of their 17. It's 17-8, a 9-point lead for the Gales. Gonzaga, where's the offense going to come from? Inside Ron Nembhard, what a pass by Nembhard. He's been one of the better point guards in college basketball this season. He's a good shooter, but man, he is a fantastic passer as well, kicking it down low to Anton Watson. That gets Gonzaga into double digits, 17-10. 7-point lead for St. Mary's. Aiden Mahaney kicks it down low. Now you've got a pass to Saxon, and it's a turnover by the Gales, and that's what Gonzaga's been doing better recently as well. Also, besides shooting the three, their defense has gotten better. They're defending at a much higher level, and who was the recipient of that turnover? Ben Gregg. He made it difficult on that post-entry pass to Mitchell Saxon. Really like the way Ben Gregg's been playing and what he brings to the Gonzaga starting lineup. Jackson says, let's get Only Talk Sports to 2,500 subs. Really appreciate that, Jackson. Hope to get there. Appreciate all your guys' support. We just passed 2,000 subs about a week ago. Can't believe that we've made it this far, but it's all because of you guys. Really appreciate it. Jackson also says, if you like hearing top-notch takes in the sports world, check out Only Talk Sports on Twitter. Get him to 10,000 followers. Appreciate that. And Rumble as well. Just got a Rumble account where I also post my videos over there. But really do appreciate everybody for being here. Jeff says, I second that, Jackson. Let's get him there. Dave Valensky says, congratulations to Oakland University making the NCAA tournament. Congratulations to their coach. Has been there for 40 years, been coaching them back in the Division II days. That's incredible. Always those type of stories are fantastic. You always love the big schools and the teams that you know have a shot to win it all, but just those Cinderella stories, these teams that haven't been in the tournament in a long time, some of these teams that have never made it to the tournament, and when they can get there for the first time, it's always awesome to see. And there's been some tickets already punched, some conference tournament champions already. Like, you got Drake out of the Missouri Valley. They were able to knock off Indiana State. And now Indiana State, it's the will they, won't they get in type of situation. They're right on the cut line, and they've got a lot of wins. And we know that Indiana State has been a team that so many people have been paying attention to this year. They've got like the best center that they've had, or best forward since Larry Bird's been at the program. And they basically the best the program's been since Larry Bird was there. But unfortunately for Indiana State, they might get left out because other teams in these conference tournaments and these bigger conferences might end up surpassing Indiana State, and they might not get in. But two teams we know are going to get into the tournament are these two teams out of the WCC, St. Mary's and Gonzaga, the two most consistent programs in the conference the last 20 years. Mark Few, Randy Bennett, both been fantastic coaches at their respective schools. And now that St. Mary's and Gonzaga have gone on these big runs to end the season, they're locks for the tournament around an 8 seed. I've seen some people say that they might be a 7 seed, but whoever wins this game is definitely going to benefit their seeding for the NCAA tournament. That's why this game's important. It's not just if Gonzaga's on the bubble still, would they get in? They're both going to get in, but you want to get that 7 seed or maybe even a 6 seed, because probably the 7 seed's better, I will say. 6 seeds get upset a lot, but the 8-9 game, then you have to probably play the 1 seed, and that's just not easy. So you want to be that 7 seed, and the winner of this game will have a really good shot of getting it. 11:40 to go in the first half. Gonzaga with the ball down by 7. Anton Watson on the left block trying to shake St. Mary's. Down low, you've got a jump hook shot by Gonzaga by Braden Huff, and that's a really good play by Braden Huff. He is a talented young player for Gonzaga. He's a guy that probably will be improving in the next couple of years. That's just one of the things that Mark Few has done such a great job at that program, is just getting guys in and developing them over several seasons. A guy like Drew Timme, he was nowhere near as good when he first got into college, but the player he became, very impressive. Aiden Mahaney is impressive. Down the floor in the paint, and he goes glass, 19-12. What a floater by Mahaney. 10:50 to go in the first half. Mahaney's got 7 points, and that's big for St. Mary's because Aiden Mahaney's been really struggling in the first half of games lately. He's been doing a much better job in the second half, but he is starting out this game very well. Braden Huff in the low block, kicks it out to the three-point line. Nolan Hickman driving into the lane, almost loses the basketball. He's cut off by Mahaney. Back to Huff. Saxon's guarding him. Kicks outside to Anton Watson, and he misses the three. And you got a rebound by Mitchell Saxon. 10:20 to go in the first half. Augustus Barcellones bringing the ball up the floor. He is a very good passer, underrated passer. And as I say that, he kicks it down low. Now to Mahaney, and his shot's off the mark. Saxon gets the ball taken away from him. He had an offensive rebound on his hands, but then he ended up losing the ball. And then Ben Gregg down the floor. He lays it in, but they're going to call it on the floor. Hummus Hero says, good evening, Jeffrey Jackson, Jeff Dave, and all other friends. Appreciate that, Hummus Hero. Appreciate you for stopping by. I can't believe it's March again, though. I really can't. Best time of the year if you are a college basketball fan, and it's even better when you get to April, even though it's so short, because if you make it that far, if your team makes it that far, then you have a shot to win the title. But March, just the quantity of games, it's on all the time. There are teams everywhere jostling for the final few positions in the tournament, teams vying for the 1 seeds. It's crazy. Braden Huff at the top of the key, and I've been praising Braden Huff, but he just airballed a 3. It might have been deflected, though. They're calling it off of St. Mary's. It might have been deflected. But that was not a good shot by Braden Huff regardless. Like, even if, that wasn't, even though it was deflected, but, even if it wasn't, that's just a terrible shot. He was not open. I would not have taken that shot if I am Gonzaga and Braden Huff. But down low, Anton Watson showing you how it's done. Gonzaga is one of the best post teams in college basketball. I think they average more paint points than any other team in college basketball. I think they average 44 paint points, which I know they're in a smaller conference, so that definitely helps out when it comes to getting paint points, because teams like Portland and Pepperdine and Pacific in the WCC who aren't as good, that helped probably Gonzaga run it up in the paint. But still very impressive by the Bulldogs that now that their three-point shooting's coming around, they're still dominant in the post, and that's what Gonzaga has to do. You got to balance the threes with the twos, and if you can do good at both, then that's definitely going to help you beat a lot of teams. St. Mary's gets the rebound after Gonzaga misses a shot. Aiden Mahaney in the middle of the lane, kicks to Barrett for 3. His shot is off the mark. Watson with the board. St. Mary's still clinging to a 5-point lead, but Gonzaga is starting to come back a little bit. They were down by around 10, but St. Mary's has not hit a shot in a couple minutes, and Gonzaga is starting to get their offense going. But right there, a steal and a block by St. Mary's. Block that turned into a steal. Aiden Mahaney, top of the key. He's trying to shake Gonzaga in the lane, goes up strong, and an offensive foul. The referees call an offensive foul on Aiden Mahaney, and that's rare. You don't see Aiden Mahaney picking up a lot of fouls like that. Let's see, did he push? Yes, he did. I mean, he used his off arm to push off, but it wasn't that much. But I think it was the right call because he did get into the chest of the Gonzaga defender. So that's a tough break for St. Mary's. And then Gonzaga, that's the deal. Their three-point shooting has improved. And you leave a guy open like Ron Nimhard that is becoming deadly from the outside. And now Gonzaga, just like that, has cut it to 2. 5 points and 5 assists for Ron Nimhard. Just such a steady player. Marcelionis top of the key. Trying to shake and bake Braden Huff. He gets in the lane. Now to Saxon, and there is a foul on the Bulldogs. Jackson says if Kyle Smith stays in Pullman, WCC will be wild next season. Yeah, Kyle Smith. He's a guy that will have a lot of opportunities for jobs around the country after what he's done this season. Like, I know it's 1 year and he's had a lot of seasons out there in Pullman where they haven't been all that good, but Kyle Smith deserves a lot of credit for what he's done out there. I've seen some people say he should take the Washington job, but I feel like Kyle Smith would want a bigger job than Washington. To go from Washington State to Washington, I know the Huskies are joining the Big Ten, but it just really wouldn't make sense to me for Kyle Smith to take that job. Probably wait for something a little bit bigger, but maybe he could strike while the iron's hot and say, you know what, this is maybe the best Washington State can do now that they're not in a power league anymore. So he could take the Washington job. You never know. But I don't see it, but anything's possible. Jackson said, I'll say St. Mary's made an amazing turnaround after they started the season at 3-5. I mean, it's crazy. Like, I remember analysts saying St. Mary's isn't going to make the tournament after they started out as poor as they did. But then they just basically almost ran the table. They didn't run the table because they have lost a couple games since then, but it's crazy how good St. Mary's has been after that rough start. And I just think that's a testament to Randy Bennett as a head coach and just the team. Like, getting a guy like Aiden Mahaney back, I thought he might have had a shot to go off to the NBA. I mean, most people probably didn't think so, but he's a good player. And then Mitchell Saxon's back. Augustus Marcelionis has gotten a lot better this season. Alex Dukas, he's a guy that a lot of people don't talk about when it comes to St. Mary's, but he's a program guy. I think this is his last year. He's gotten better every single season out there in Moraga, and that just helps your program when you have guys that stay with you year after year. Now you got Aiden Mahaney back for his sophomore year. I mean, he hasn't really taken a massive leap this season. I thought he would, be a little bit more improved than he has been, but he's still been very good for St. Mary's. Jackson says, I won't lie, at the time, I felt like St. Mary's was going to have a bad year ahead of them. Absolutely. And the thing is when you're in a smaller league, starting out 3-5 is disastrous because you have to get wins out of conference against teams that are solid because you're not going to be able to rack up a lot of wins in conference play. That's why St. Mary's is only being projected as like an 8 seed right now, despite the fact that they have 25 wins and they knocked off Gonzaga earlier this season because of the fact they just don't have a lot of quality wins. It's the same thing with Gonzaga. All the wins they got out of conference were against teams that ended up not being all that good, and all their wins over teams all their games against better teams, they lost those games. The games that actually would have helped their resume, they didn't win those games. And then all the games that they were able to win out of conference, those teams just weren't good. So it didn't help their resume. That's why Gonzaga only has like 2 quad 1 wins. They had the win over St. Mary's, and then they were able to get a win at San Francisco, which I don't know if that one's held up as a quad 1, but I know the one that they just got against San Francisco in the WCC tournament, that will be a quad 1. But maybe they got 3, which is why now Gonzaga is being projected higher in the bracket. But still, they just do not have a lot of quality wins. Jackson says, time flies by when you're having fun. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, time flies when you're having fun, and you look up and you're like, wow, that much time's gone by. But then on the other hand, at least you enjoyed the time you had. So it is definitely worth it. And March Madness is definitely something that you blink and it is over. Got to enjoy it while it lasts. 19-17, St. Mary's with a 2-point lead. 7:50 to go in the first half. On the block are the Gales. Now you got Dukas at the top of the key. He has not hit a shot yet in this game, but he had a big impact for St. Mary's in their win over Santa Clara. And another turnover for the Gales. Gonzaga is applying the pressure on St. Mary's. Down the floor, Nimhard. He's kind of stuck, nowhere to go with the ball, kicks it back out to Ben Gregg. He is a big target to pass the ball to. 9-2 run for the Bulldogs in the last 5 minutes and 15 seconds. St. Mary's has gone cold. Anton Watson thought about the shot, decides to pass to Nembhard. Kicks inside the Watson, and they call a foul on Augustus Marcelionis. That is a tough break for the Gales because Gonzaga was not going to hit that shot. I think Anton Watson was already a little off balance because the pass was kind of a little bit ahead of him. I don't like the call. I don't think he got fouled. I think he just kind of slipped. Maybe I'm wrong, but St. Mary's got a tough break on that one. Hopefully Anton Watson's okay. He's kind of holding his side a little bit, but that's a tough break for St. Mary's. Jackson says, congrats to Charleston for winning the CAA tournament. Yeah, Pat Kelsey's a good coach. I mean, he's a really good coach. He's done fantastic down there with Charleston. That's a solid program. They've played Carolina a couple times, UNC, and they've been very competitive, very solid program, and they do deserve to be in March Madness. Like, even if they didn't win, I know they wouldn't have got in because they don't have the resume, but they are a team that could play spoiler. They could be a Cinderella. So definitely congratulations to the College of Charleston. Helmus Hero says, is everything a week late this year? It seems like the conference tournaments are usually over sooner. Yeah, I kind of saw the same thing because it's March 12th right now, and the regular season just ended 2 days ago on March 10th. I think last year or a couple years ago, the regular season ended on March 6th or March 7th. So it's 3 or 4 days late or something like that. It could just be the fact of the way the calendar year fell. I mean, you even had leap day as well. I think the college basketball season started a little bit later. Instead of it starting November 5th, it started November 8th. So it might just be because of that. But that's crazy. That's a good point, Hummus Hero. 21-17, St. Mary's finally breaks their cold streak. They get a bucket to fall. Nembhard out to Ben Gregg. He was hot in the game against San Francisco, but Ben Gregg hasn't done much so far in this one. Watson down low, backing down on Saxon with a reverse, and Watson draws another foul, and Saxon does not like the call. I don't know. That might be his second. I can't remember if he picked up a foul earlier in this one. But, man, Anton Watson is doing everything he can to draw fouls against St. Mary's, and it's working. If you're going to get the referee to call the foul, you might as well continue to back your way in, go up strong into the body of your defender and pick up the foul. I mean, he's done it a couple times already. Only issue for Anton Watson is that he's only a 64% free throw shooter, which is not all that good, but he did just rattle in the first. And they just show with Anton Watson, he has 211 steals, the second most in school history behind John Stockton, who had 262. That's great company to be with. And he knocked down both of the free throws. So it's 21-19, 6 to go in the first half. Aiden Mahaney at the top of the key being guarded by Watson. Crossover dribble, kicks inside to Saxon. Ben Gregg on him. Saxon going up strong. What a block by Ben Gregg. And then Saxon goes up strong again, and he misses the putback the second time. Bulldogs back the other way. 2-point game. 6 to go in the first half. Dusty Stromer, highly ranked recruit for Mark Few, a freshman. He has the ball, but he kicks to Nembhard. Now down low to Watson again. Is he going to try to draw another foul on Saxon? Watson goes up, but he does not get the whistle, and he does not get the shot to fall. So St. Mary's catches a break. 5:45 to go in the first half. Augustus Marcelionis in the paint, goes up strong off glass. What a shot by Marcelionis, 23-19. 4-point lead for the Gales. That's a tough shot. That's not a shot he would have hit a year ago. Now Nolan Hickman, top of the key. Yeah, Marcelionis actually won Player of the Year in the WCC. That's how impressive that the media thought that he was, because the media is the one that votes. And I think the coaches do as well. But he won Player of the Year. Not Graham Ike, not Ron Nembhard, not Aiden Mahaney, but it was Augustus Marcelionis. Probably because St. Mary's did end up winning the WCC since they went 15-1. Graham Ike had a strong case. Graham Ike had a great season, but I think they gave it to Marcelionis because of the fact that they ended up winning the WCC, and he deserves it. He's playing very well. Fantastic passer. 2 fouls on Ike, I think they just showed on screen. So Gonzaga is playing Ike with him being in foul trouble. That's a risky decision. 5:05 to go in the first half. St. Mary's 23, Gonzaga 19. And I think the Bulldogs just picked up another foul. Dusty Stromer with a reach in. Lucky it wasn't on EK, though, because he was in the scrum, but he did not pick up a foul there. Marcellion is driving into the lane, off glass again, and this time he can't get the shot to fall. Under 5 to go in the first half. Nembhard to Watson for the jam. What a pass. That's what I'm saying with Nembhard. I mean, he's got pro potential, like his brother Andrew Nembhard. That is a great pass. And then Anton Watson flushing it home. He's got 8 points, 3 of 6 from the field. Aiden Mahaney, top of the key. Nembhard on him. What a matchup. Trying to get it to Marciulionis, gets it to him at the WCC logo. Now he's got a mismatch on EK, and Marciulionis, he gets the layup to fall. He's cooking right now, 25-21. Now Nembhard running down the floor. Gonzaga likes to get out and run. It's been one of their trademarks this season. Ben Gregg down the floor, and he picks up a foul on Saxon. That's got to be Saxon's second. There's really no need for it either. I mean, he got beat. Let's see. Oh, they're showing the replay to Anton Watson on the dunk from Ron Nembhard. But I want to see that play again with Mitchell Saxon. I mean, did he pick up a foul? He went for it. But I think Ben Gregg, he sold the contact if there was any at all. But Saxon now has 2 fouls. And it looks like Randy Bennett's going to roll the dice and keep Saxon in. I mean, it's a very risky decision to do that. I understand why, because of the fact we're at the point in the season where you got to play your veterans, you got to play your starters, but he cannot pick up a third. So Saxon's going to have to play prevent defense, just cannot foul, back up if you get beat. Just keep your hands up. You can't pick up a third foul. And you know Gonzaga's going to attack that. The Gales are 2 of 2 at the line. Gonzaga is 4 of 6. Gales are up 25-23. Dukas kicks to Marciulionis, who has the last couple buckets for the Gales. He's cut off by Dusty Stromer. Thought about the step back 3. Now Mitchell Saxon on the left block. On Anton Watson, back to Marciulionis. Misses the 3. And now the ball is off of the Gales. Man, it looked like Ben Gregg might have been the last to touch it, but they are going to say it is off of St. Mary's. Forbes was battling with Ben Gregg, and they're saying it's off Forbes. The replay, ooh, I think that's a bad call. It's off Ben Gregg, man. That's a bad call. The referees did not see that one. Tough break for St. Mary's. We're at the under 4 timeout. We got a good one in the WCC Championship. We knew it was going to be a hotly contested game. Both these teams won a matchup against each other this season. Gonzaga lost on their own floor, and St. Mary's lost on their own floor. Now, both these teams trying to win the WCC Championship game. St. Mary's has not won since 2019. And Gonzaga has not lost since that season. They've won every other WCC championship since 2013. And plus, with a win, it would help in the bracket for either team, and they could be 2-1 against the opponent. That would be fantastic for either Gonzaga or St. Mary's. Dave Walensky says College of Charleston might be a surprise team that nobody talks about that gets a couple upsets in the NCAA tournament. Sometimes, it's the team that you don't expect. I mean, that's just the way it goes. Like, that's the way March Madness works. If it was predictable, people would not call it March Madness. So, definitely, I could see Charleston getting a win. I mean, they're a good team. Very well-coached squad. Like I said, Pat Kelsey, great coach. So, I could see them getting upset. Jackson, I wonder if Kansas gets knocked off by Charleston. If they do end up matching up, especially with the injuries Kansas has right now, it doesn't look like the Jayhawks are going to be going far in the Big 12 tournament. Because Bill Self just announced that Hunter Dickinson and Kevin McCullough are not playing in the Big 12 tournament. Now, I do think in the long run, if Kansas ends up making a run in the NCAA tournament, it was a smart move by Bill Self and Kansas to not play Hunter Dickinson and Kevin McCullough in the Big 12 tournament, because at the end of the day, that is not the most important tournament. The most important tournament is the NCAA tournament and March Madness. It's not the Big 12 tournament. So Kansas making the right move. The only issue is what if Kevin McCullough and Hunter Dickinson are never 100% again this season? And if that's the case, then that's going to prevent Kansas from going far. Plus, they just don't have a lot of bench depth. People have been talking about it all year. A lot of times, Kansas always has 2 or 3 guys off the bench that are just pests. Like Remy Martin, transferring in from Arizona State. What an addition that was, helping Kansas win the national title that season. back in 2022. Kansas's bench has done virtually nothing. And now that Johnny Furphy's playing starter minutes, he's been a starter lately. I mean, he's improved. And then you got DeJuan Harris, really good point guard. But with McCullough and Dickinson's injuries, I mean, there's just nobody behind them. And even when they're both starting, there's just nobody behind them to really step up. They don't have the bench, and I think that's really going to prevent Kansas from making a deep run. Maybe they still can if Dickinson and McCullough can get healthy. Their starters are really good, but if they don't get healthy, there's no shot of them advancing far in the tournament. Game's back on. Under 4 to go in the first half in the WCC championship game. St. Mary's has a 2-point lead. They've led for the vast majority of this first half, but Gonzaga trying to take the lead on this possession. Nembhard down the floor, goes for a 2, and his shot short. That's a rare miss for Nembhard around 8 feet from the basket. Had a very good look. Looks like he should have just taken a jumper, but tried to float it in. Did not work. Gales with the ball. Dukas to Mahaney. Saxon setting the ball screen. Mahaney doesn't use the screen. Thought about taking a step back 3. Decides against it. What defense by EK defending Mahaney at the top of the key. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Mahaney's got to do something with it. He gets Nembhard in the air with an up and under off the mark and a rebound by Anton Watson. Fantastic defense by the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Nembhard down the floor. 2:50 to go in the first half. Ben Gregg kicks to EK, and EK off the block, getting it inside. 25-25. That's a good play by the Bulldogs. We're all tied up in Las Vegas. Marsh Leone is top of the key. The Gonzaga Bulldogs fans are rising to their feet. Can the Gales respond? Saxon on the right block, driving on Ben Gregg. Saxon gets the ball stolen away. Nembhard down the floor in transition. Around the WCC free throw line logo, kicks to EK. He readjusts, but Saxon influenced the shot just enough, and his shot rims off, and the Gales have the board. That's a big break for St. Mary's. Gonzaga's crowd is starting to get raucous now that the Bulldogs are back in this one. Marsh Leone is top of the key to Mahaney for 3, and Aiden Mahaney silences the Zags crowd. What a shot. He's got 10 points, 28-25. 1:50 to go in the first half. That's a clutch shot by Mahaney. 2 of 3 from 3 for the sophomore. Nembhard top of the key. EK setting a screen. Nembhard driving in. Saxon, that's good defense by Saxon. Right on him. Now EK posting up. Back to Nembhard. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Nembhard inside. His shot rolls in. Now that was a good shot by Nembhard. He put enough on it, had a soft touch, and it rimmed in. 28-27. 1-point game. We're almost at half. Nembhard with a steady first half of 7 points and 6 assists. Marsh Leonis kicks over in the corner to Forbes, back to Marsh Leonis. Mitchell Saxon back outside to Augustus for 3. Marsh Leonis drains it. The backcourt for the Gales, when they're knocking shots down, can be deadly. 31-27, 4-point lead for St. Mary's, under a minute to go. And we got a timeout on the floor. Hummus Hero says, I don't think the impact of no longer being in the Pat will be felt as much for Wazoo and OSU as it is in football. That's probably true. I mean, because that might end up I mean, Oregon State's not good at all in basketball. They haven't been in a while. They had the 1 year where they somehow won the Pac-12 tournament. But other than that, it's been ugly for Oregon State lately in basketball. They've really struggled. Doesn't look like Wayne Tinkle will be the head coach much longer for Oregon State. I mean, I know that it's not really a job where you have a lot of pressure, but I would not see him really keeping his job with how bad Oregon State's been. But with Washington State, if they can keep Kyle Smith somehow, they could end up having success because they'll be playing an easier schedule. And maybe they can just rack up a lot of wins like Gonzaga and St. Mary's normally do. We'll have to see. But I agree. It's going to be much more of an impact in football for sure. Jeff says, hey, Hummus Hero, hope you're doing well. Hope everybody is doing well. Appreciate everyone for being here. Hummus Hero says, thanks to Jeff. I'm good. Thanks. Hope you're also doing well. Glad everybody is doing well. Mike Mockstop, thanks for stopping by. Said all our picks had upsets. That's funny. And then Hummus Hero said this game is pretty intense so far. It's always intense with these two teams. With Gonzaga and St. Mary's, if it doesn't have intensity, it's either a blowout or something's wrong because there's always intensity. These two teams been playing very hard. It's been like one of the most underrated rivalries in college basketball, and it's grown in popularity the last few seasons. And it shouldn't be a rivalry. Gonzaga's in Washington, St. Mary's is in California. But it's just because both these teams have been the best teams in the WCC basically for the last 10 years, outside of a couple seasons from BYU. But both these teams just so consistent, and they play so hard against each other. But Gonzaga missed on the other end. Now St. Mary's with the ball. Barrett down the floor in the paint, goes up with a step back, and it's off the mark. His shot is short. 14 seconds to go. Did they call a foul on the Gales? I'm not 100% sure because they stopped play. The ball didn't go out of bounds. I don't know. Now they're letting Gonzaga inbound the ball. That was kind of weird. Maybe it was a travel. It had to be a travel or something because I think they just said St. Mary's now has 7 turnovers. So it was a turnover by the Gales. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Nembhard down the floor. What a block by Marcelionis. 2 seconds on the shot clock. Half-court heave, and it almost went in for St. Mary's. Barrett almost knocked down a half-court shot. That would have been huge for St. Mary's to knock that down. They'd have been up by 7. They would have had all the momentum, but still they're up by 4, and the St. Mary's crowd is making their presence felt in Las Vegas. That's a fantastic defensive play by Augustus Marcelionis. Nembhard is quick, but what a block. Timed it up right before it hit the glass, so it wasn't a goaltend. Just a fantastic play. But now we're at the half in the WCC championship game, 31-27. I will say, St. Mary's is not safe, though, because Gonzaga has been a second-half team. Every single time that San Francisco was competitive with Gonzaga this season, they even led it one time at the half in one of the games. They fell apart in the second half. And the game that was in Moraga, California, Gonzaga started out not all that great. St. Mary's had a lead, and then it all fell apart after like the first 10 minutes or so. Now, St. Mary's is leading at half, something that was not the case in their last matchup. But I just know that Gonzaga, there's eventually going to be a moment in this game where they kick it into high gear, and St. Mary's is going to have to find a way to stave that off. Make sure that it doesn't get out of hand. If they can keep it close, like if Gonzaga takes around a 5 to 7 point lead, but St. Mary's can kind of stimmy the run, stimmy the crowd, get back in it, then they'll be fine. But maybe if St. Mary's keeps up this effort, they might be able to win. That's how they won the first matchup, because it was like a 64-62 win for St. Mary's when they won at Gonzaga. And this game is on pace for that. Gonzaga only has 27 points, which if you times that by 2 would be 54. I'm pretty sure Gonzaga is going to score more than 27 in the second half. But this first half has benefited St. Mary's way more than it's benefited Gonzaga, because the Gales are playing the type of game that they know how to win in. They know how to win in these lower scoring, grinded out type of games. And Gonzaga likes to run the floor. They like to get in transition. And that's how they end up having a lot of success. So we'll have to see which style ends up winning out. But now they're showing the Colonial Athletic Conference. The highlights of that one in Charleston, we know they punched their ticket. They knocked off Stony Brook. They're in the tournament. And with the auto bid, that was a fantastic end of the game with those two teams. Charleston found a way to hold on. Both teams played so hard. But unfortunately for Stony Brook, they fell a little bit short. Crazy. But you got to love the effort. I mean, these little smaller conference tournaments, they're so fun to watch as well. I mean, I know the West Coast Conference has gotten a lot more, I wouldn't say nationalized, but a lot more people pay attention to it now because of Gonzaga and St. Mary's. But these smaller conferences, the CAA, the NEC, they're showing the NEC right now between Wagner and Merrimack. These are good games. They go down to the wire. And these teams want to win because it's their only shot to make March Madness. You lose and you're done. It doesn't even matter if you're the 1 seed. And now if you're the 1 seed, you're not even guaranteed to make the NIT anymore because they took out the number 1 seed auto bid rule out of the NIT, where if you were a 1 seed and you lost, you were able to end up making the NIT, but now that's just not the case. And Wagner, they knocked off Merrimack, so Wagner is in the NCAA tournament. They were like the 6th seed in that tournament. They didn't even have a good record, but hey, they got the wins when they needed to in their conference tournament. We know as well that Oakland was able to knock off Milwaukee as well, so they've punched their ticket to the NCAA tournament. I mean, you always feel bad for the loser in these type of games, though, because, I mean, they played so hard, they fought hard, and then they just fall short. Like UNC Asheville, that was a surprising one in the Big South tournament. They played Longwood, and UNC Asheville was by far the better team. They just absolutely crumbled, but they were the better team by far. But they're not going to make the tournament because of the fact that they choked at the end. But Morehead State, Longwood, Stetson, Drake, James Madison, Samford, Wagner, Oakland, and Charleston have all won their conference tournaments. They are all in the NCAA tournament. And now you've got the Summit League as well tonight between South Dakota State and Denver. South Dakota State heavily favored to win that one. They're up by 12 right now. So if they're able to win and beat Denver, South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits, they will be in the NCAA tournament as well. But both these teams here with Gonzaga and St. Mary's, we don't have to worry about the auto bid situation and the loser not getting in. Both teams are going to make the tournament. I've still seen some bracketologists say that if St. Mary's loses this game or Gonzaga loses, it could still be tight for the tournament. There's no way that either of these teams are missing the tournament. They've got enough good wins. There's just, I don't see it. I think it's just more drama than anything else to try to pique people's interest. Say, oh, if they lose, they're not going to get in. But they're going to get in. St. Mary's has done enough, and Gonzaga's done enough. And plus, it's their reputations alone. I mean, you look at a team like Florida Atlantic. I'm not saying Florida Atlantic's underperformed this season, but the only reason that they're currently projected to make the NCAA tournament is because of what Florida Atlantic did last season. Since they went to the Final Four, they've kind of got that reputation. You know, now that they're, a team to watch. They're a good team with Dusty May at coach. Because they really haven't had all, that impressive of a season. It's been really good, don't get me wrong. But it's not like Florida Atlantic has gone undefeated in conference play or anything. They've suffered a couple of upset losses. Then they have a couple dings on their resume that aren't all that good. But Florida Atlantic still, as long as they don't suffer another upset loss in the American Conference tournament, they should be fine. They should make the tournament. That's why San Diego State is like a projected 5 seed because of what Brian Dutcher, has continued to build down there with the Aztecs, continuing what their longtime coach did for 30 years. I mean, they've had 2 coaches in the last 40 years, and they've been very consistent. But that's why San Diego State consistently is higher up in the bracket, because I just feel like when you have that consistency, people are going to more than likely, rank you higher in the bracket than they otherwise would. I mean, look at Michigan State. I know their net ranking's high, but I made a video the other day about the bubble, the Bracketology bubble watch talking. I did my basically percentages for how much of a chance I believe every team around the bubble has to get in. It was a video that I put out yesterday. A lot of good stuff in that one if you want to go check that video out. But in that video, I'm like, Michigan State's net ranking is fantastic, but their resume is terrible. Outside of that win over Baylor, they barely have any good wins. They've only got 3 quad 1 wins. They, I think, suffered a bad loss in there somewhere. They got a quad 3 loss, and their record's only 18-13, and they've lost 5 of their last 7 or 8 games. They're really struggling right now. But Michigan State is a lock basically for the tournament just because their net ranking is in the 20s. And I'm not saying that Michigan State should make the tournament, but part of it's probably because of Tom Izzo, him being as consistent as he has been. He's been a fantastic coach. I mean, I'm not saying anything about Tom Izzo's coaching ability. He's elite, but I don't think this Michigan State team is elite this year. And they're getting a lot of credit for the NCAA tournament, despite the fact that their record just isn't there. I mean, you look at teams like Ohio State and Iowa and Indiana in the Big Ten that all have around the same records. Iowa and Indiana are both 18-13 as well, and Ohio State's 19-12. But they're all behind Michigan State in the bracket. They're all on the outside looking in for the tournament, whereas Michigan State is in. And Ohio State's got the win over Purdue. I mean, Ohio State, of all the teams in the Big Ten that are not in the tournament, they probably deserve the most credit to get in, because Ohio State, ever since they fired Chris Holtman's been on a roll. I mean, they've been playing fantastic basketball. They've won like 5 of their last 6 games, beat Purdue, but they're still not in the tournament field. And then you got a team like Indiana that's won 4 in a row after Xavier Johnson has returned from his injury. And Indiana's still not getting any consideration because their net ranking is in the 90s, because they don't have the efficiency metrics or whatever, because they didn't blow out their non-conference team. So that, to me, that just doesn't make any sense. Like, I get the net, but there needs to be other factors taken into account of how you get in. It should not just be the net. I'm not saying the net ranking is bad, but I think the net is flawed. Like, every ranking system is flawed, but how to balance out a flawed ranking, and I know it sounds idiotic, but how to balance out a flawed ranking is to have other rankings that are also flawed, but those other rankings take into account metrics that the other ranking doesn't take into account as much. And I think that when you look at the net and the things that the net really doesn't take into account, then if you had like the other measure, like the RPI that used to exist, which was very flawed, or like if you look more into like strength of record, strength of schedule, all these other metrics that you could use, Ken Palm, and then you add it to the net, I think it would balance out more, when you're ranking every team. And then some of these other teams that are not really getting considered would be like basically right on the bubble. And then Michigan State, instead of them being a lock, they would probably be like in the last 4 in, or they would be the first 4 out. So to me, it would just make more sense if that was the case, but maybe that will eventually happen. And maybe the tournament committee does take more stuff into account, but just the way the bracketologists talk about it, it just seems like they take the net into account way more than anything else. And that's why you just have these, skewed results where like Wisconsin's 19-12 and they have like a 6 seed in the bracket because their net's like 20. It makes no sense. Dave Valensky says, how the heck is Hopkins from Minnesota not make the all Big Ten team? Seriously, the kid has the most assists in the Big Ten and second all of the NCAA in assist leaders. That's an interesting question. I mean, Minnesota, they had a good year. I mean, for Minnesota basketball standards, like they've had a lot of years where they've struggled. Like they had the one season with Daniel Aturu where they made the NCAA tournament. Or that might have been the year that the tournament got canceled, though, now that I think about it. They were going to make the tournament. But Minnesota, like, they've had moments. But I just don't know if, since Minnesota's, like, on the outside looking in for the tournament, maybe he got overlooked. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of guys in the Big Ten, actually, that were really good this year. I kind of feel like the Big Ten, even though it always gets – I wouldn't say ridicule, but since the Big Ten has not won a title since 2000, a lot of people just throw it away as the Big Ten's terrible. They play an outdated style, which is not, doesn't work for modern college basketball, which a lot of that's true, I will say. I mean, they haven't really been, I guess you would say what the other conferences, the way that they're playing, the Big Ten just isn't all that impressive. It's not visually appealing in the modern day. Seeing a couple bigs on the floor and a whole bunch of post-up action. You want to see, like what Alabama does. They don't always win, but Alabama just shoots a bunch of threes. They hit a bunch of threes, and it's up and down the floor. Very fun basketball. Whereas the Big Ten, it's more bogged down. The teams are playing like it's 1985, and it's just not visually appealing. And I think that makes a lot of people think the Big Ten's trash. It's not. I think the Big Ten has some good teams. Doesn't mean they're going to go far in the tournament. Purdue, every year, it's the question, will Purdue go far in the tournament? I mean, some people think this is the year because they got Lance Jones from Southern Illinois. He's been a great addition for their program. Braden Smith, Fletcher Loyer are improved from last season. And then Zach Edey, I mean, he's putting up incredible stats. But until a team like Purdue or if Indiana can ever become consistently good again, if a team doesn't go far in the Big Ten, then I just think that people are going to continue to just say the Big Ten is not all that good, and they're going to get overlooked. And maybe with Minnesota, Dave, maybe just because they weren't all that great, he didn't get on the All Big Ten team. He should have. I agree. He's a good player, but that's probably why. There were a lot of players on teams that were better than Minnesota, like Keisei Tominaga. He's on the All Big Ten team. And yeah, he's a good player, but I mean, he's not elite. He's a good shooter, but and he's a passionate player. fun to watch. But since Nebraska's a tournament team, that's why he's on the All-Big Ten team probably. Dave Valensky also said, seriously, Hopkins, the reason that Minnesota won 18 games this year and 9 games in the Big Ten, especially when Minnesota was picked to be dead last. I mean, it's very impressive what Ben Johnson's done. I mean, I think Ben Johnson, deserved to be in the Coach of the Year race. Like, I know Matt Painter, what he's done at Purdue. Like, if you're number one in the league, and it's not just that you're number one, but you're that dominant and how you're number one, the fact Purdue had a 3-game lead in the Big Ten standings, then I think that Matt Painter deserved Coach of the Year. And then I think Fred Hoiberg also got Coach of the Year. It was like co-Big Ten Coach of the Year. So Fred Hoiberg deserves credit too, because Nebraska has been a program that's been terrible for so long, and they're going to be a tournament team. If Minnesota had have been a team that would have made the tournament, which obviously they still can if they can somehow win the Big Ten tournament or make a deep run in the Big Ten tournament, they get an at-large bid. But other than that, Minnesota probably isn't. Then Ben Johnson might have got Coach of the Year as well, because he's done great. Like, I thought Minnesota wasn't going to be all that good either. I thought maybe they would win like 4 or 5 Big Ten games. And that's no shade at Minnesota. It's just, like you said, they were picked to be dead last. But he's been very impressive as a coach. They got a good team, and I do agree that they deserved a little bit more credit. Monster Meat Mac, appreciate you for being here. He's not a Gonzaga fan. That is definitely what I can tell from your comment. Appreciate you for being here, though. But the Gales, looking good right now, right? They're up by 4 at the half, and Gonzaga is losing, so maybe you got a point there, Monster Meat Mac, but that's a funny comment for sure. But appreciate you for being here. Appreciate everybody for being here. Like the stream down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Share the stream out on social media. I'll have a ton more videos and live streams as we dive into March Madness. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Can't wait for the madness to begin, but it's basically already starting. Even though the NCAA tournament hasn't started yet, these conference tournaments are a lot of fun. The stakes aren't as high, especially in the bigger conferences. And the smaller conferences, it's basically like March Madness, because like if you lose, you're not making the tournament. So it's always fun to watch those. But in the bigger tournaments, you're still watching out for teams on the bubble. They have to get a couple wins if they want to make the NCAA tournament. So that's still a big deal. These games are a lot of fun, and it's going to be so fun to tune into these games, watch them, and to do some live streams. Hope you guys show up for some of those live streams. Really appreciate you guys for being here tonight. But we got a great second half on deck coming up. I don't know if this game's going to go down to the wire. I mean, the first game between Gonzaga and St. Mary's, fantastic game. I did a live stream for that one, and it went down to the wire. St. Mary's pulled out the win in Spokane. But then the second game, it wasn't that competitive. Gonzaga pulled away, but it's still a fun game. And now we're doing the third edition of Gonzaga St. Mary's WCC Championship. Can St. Mary's end Gonzaga's streak of owning the West Coast Conference Tournament? Gonzaga has won 11 out of the last 12. It's been unbelievable how dominant that they've been. Mark Few's program, just one of the best and most consistent in college basketball. They've been a little down this year, a little down compared to what people are used to with Gonzaga. Didn't win the West Coast Conference regular season title, but they still had a great year. They're playing their best basketball when it matters most in March, but they're struggling a little bit in this game right now. St. Mary's is giving them fits like they do to so many teams, and the Bulldogs are just going to have to find a way to figure it out. Dave Valensky says the Big Ten plays a very physical brand of basketball. It's Detroit bad boys on steroids sometimes. And it's the way, too, and people have said this before, the Big Ten is refereed differently than other conferences. It just is. And it allows and enables that physical brand of play, which can be appealing if you like that sort of play, but it's not the way basketball should be played anymore. You know, especially when you talk about like a 5-star recruit, a guard, right, that wants to go pro. So he's going to look at a Big Ten school like Michigan State or Indiana or Purdue or something like that, and he's going to be like, I don't want to play in this physical style. I want to play in this run up and down the floor type of team, deal at Alabama or Kentucky or, Carolina Duke. That's why so many high recruits don't go to the Big Ten. Physical brand of basketball, it can be fun to watch, but it can also be just bad when you're trying to get players. Second half has just started, and the Gales started off with a bang. Forbes down low. Gales push it out to a 6-point lead. Not the start Mark Few was looking for. The Bulldogs just allowed the Gales to score way too easily. Mason Forbes, he's been a steady player for the Gales. He had 18 points against Santa Clara. He has been a lot quieter tonight. That's a big shot for him. But Gonzaga just responded with a two of their own, 33-29. 19-10 left in the second half. Marcelionis in the paint, trying to go up over EK, which is almost impossible, but he gets bailed out. He gets bailed out with a foul call. Man, that was good defense for the most part by Graham EK, but then he fell apart at the end of it by getting a little bit of the arm there, Marcelionis. Very good job by Marcelionis to draw that contact. They just showed Mason Forbes' family at the game. Got to be proud of their son being on the Gales team in the WCC championship game. Gales knocked down the first free throw. There have not been a lot of free throws in this game by St. Mary's. Gonzaga has shot more free throws, but St. Mary's has been perfect at the line to start this game. It's 35-29. I think they're 4-4 at the line. Gonzaga's like 5 of 7. Bulldogs have definitely been way better than almost any other team in the WCC at getting to the foul line. They're very physical, always in the paint. Now, EK, right as I speak, in the paint, but they call a travel on EK. Turnover, Zags. St. Mary's going to be getting the ball back. EK had happy feet on that play. Now, Gonzaga has 6 turnovers. St. Mary's has 7 turnovers. Aiden Mahaney, top of the key, being guarded by Nimhard. Back out to Marcelionis, sets a screen. Saxon does. Now over in the corner to Alex Dukas, who's been quiet, and he misses the 3 in the corner. I think St. Mary's has to get Dukas going, though. He had a good game against Santa Clara, but he has been very quiet tonight. I don't even know if he scored. Ben Gregg, he misses the 3. Mahaney with the board, kicks to Dukas again. He thought about the 3. Dukas kicks to Mahaney. I think Dukas should have shot the ball. Even though he just missed the 3, he had a great look. But now Saxon down low. EK on him, and they call another foul. They call another foul on Graham EK. He doesn't like it. He is saying that he deflected the ball, but I don't know. He was very physical on that play, and that's just not smart by EK. There's no reason to foul that. Yes, he did. Got him on the elbow, and yet he's saying that he deflected it. He got the elbow, man. That's clearly a foul. Not a smart play by Graham EK. There's just no reason to do that. Now he's got 3 fouls, and he's putting Mark Few in a situation. Do I leave him out? Do I take him out? I don't know. Just not a good play. But then Saxon misses the free throw. So St. Mary's just missed their first free throw of the game. Got to hit your free throws in any game, but especially a big game like this. Because sometimes the game could come down to free throws. Literally the team that hit more of them. Saxon does cash in on the second free throw, so it's 36-29, 7-point lead for the Gales. Gonzaga not starting off the second half all that well. Saxon's been a beast on the glass. He's got 13 points and 10 rebounds. Double-double. Hickman in the lane. EK tipping it up. And a rebound by Dukas. Over to Marcelionis. 17:50 to go in the second half. Augustus Marcelionis over to Aiden Mahaney. 4-3. Gales up by 10. 39-29. Will Mark Few take a timeout? He's not right now, but Mahaney's got 13 points. EK getting double-teamed. Still being double-teamed. Mahaney ties him up, and Gonzaga does have the possession arrow, but St. Mary's is just playing harder than Gonzaga right now. The way St. Mary's is playing is the way Gonzaga played in the matchup at St. Mary's. Gonzaga just out-toughed the Gales. And this game here, St. Mary's is out-toughing Gonzaga. They are playing fantastic ball. Just consistent play on both ends of the floor. Their offense is humming. They're knocking their shots down. And now their defensive intensity is ramping up. EK down the floor, goes up strong, gets the bucket to fall. He was trying to draw a foul, but he does not get the call. But that's a good play by Graham EK. 39-31. EK's got 8 points, 4 and 9 from the field. 17-10 to go in the second half. Aiden Mahaney gets a screen from Saxon, top of the key. He's got EK on him. That's a mismatch, but Mahaney cannot get the shot. But Forbes with the rebound. Are they going? I think they called a foul on Gonzaga. I thought they were calling a foul on Forbes because he kind of pushed off on that rebound, but it looks like they're calling the foul on the Bulldogs. And yet again, St. Mary's out hustling the Bulldogs. That's a fantastic rebound by Forbes. Marcelionis is the inbounder. Kicks to Mahaney. 20 seconds on the shot clock. Mahaney step back for a three. He drains it. What a shot by Aiden Mahaney. 42-31. The Gales, they're wanting that WCC championship, and Mark Few's seen enough. He takes a timeout. He's got 2 left. The St. Mary's crowd is going wild. Aiden Mahaney's on fire. This is the best I've seen him play in weeks. I mean, just not good defense by EK, though. I mean, I get he's not the one that really needs to be guarding Mahaney, but he got switched on to him, and he just sags on Mahaney, and you can't leave him open. Just can't do it. Monster Meat Max has got to love that slow and steady Randy Bennett offense. The thing about Randy Bennett, and you could throw Tony Bennett in there as well, but I do believe St. Mary's plays a little bit quicker than Virginia. But with both of them, their style of play works if they're winning. Like right now, especially if St. Mary's can keep this lead around 8-10 and the game gets around 5 or 6 minutes left, that's when Gonzaga is going to start to panic because St. Mary's is just going to bleed clock. They're methodical. They make sure that they get a good shot. They make sure that they take their time on these possessions. They let the clock get down to around 8 to 10 seconds, and then they make their move. They don't just go down the floor like in Alabama and chunk up a three with 25 seconds left on the shot clock. That's not their style. St. Mary's passes the ball around with a purpose, and they let the clock go down, and then they get a good shot with around usually 5 to 7 seconds left. And it's smart basketball. The only issue is, and this hurts Virginia more than it hurts St. Mary's, but when St. Mary's is losing, then their style of play comes back to bite them because then they don't really know how to speed it up. Because when Gonzaga took a 10-point lead on St. Mary's in the game in Moraga, California a couple weeks ago, that just absolutely destroyed St. Mary's ability to come back in the game because of the fact St. Mary's, they play that methodical style and they couldn't really speed up. So once they started trying to speed up, you could just tell they weren't comfortable in it and they were forcing things, something they wouldn't normally do, but they had to do because they were losing, and that's why they lost the game. Gonzaga being down by 11 right now, it's not absolute panic mode yet because Gonzaga does play a faster style, but St. Mary's style of play is dictating this game. Their slower style is winning out. Gonzaga's is not, and that's why St. Mary's is starting to pull away. And if the Bulldogs can't figure out a way to get the tide turning back in their favor, the Bulldogs are not going to win. We'll have to see. St. Mary's is playing great right now. Alex Ramos, appreciate you for being here. Says, yo, what's up, brother? Did you peep anything that you liked in the first half? Well, with both of these teams, I just feel like St. Mary's is playing harder. I thought for a minute there Gonzaga had it rolling because Nembhard hit a three. They were starting to get some shots to go down. EK was dominating on the block. But then in the latter part of the first half, it all shifted. St. Mary's just started winning on the boards. And Mitchell Saxon, he's got a double-double already. I mean, we got 17 minutes to go in this game, and Mitchell Saxon already has over 10 rebounds. That's why they're winning the game. That's why St. Mary's is winning, because they are dominating on the glass. Their style of play is winning out. And now Gonzaga's shots are not falling. That's why Mark Few just took a timeout. But that's what I'm seeing right now. But appreciate you for being here. 16:40 to go in the second half. We got Nembhard at the top of the key. Kicking to Hickman. Down to Anton Watson on the left block. 16:30 to go in the second half. Hickman back to Watson on the left block again. And Watson goes up over Mason Forbes. That's what Gonzaga's got to do. If the threes are not falling, you got to go in for twos. That's a very good shot. And Anton Watson has gotten a lot better in his post game. He's also gotten better as a shooter, but I think that him getting better as a shooter has helped his ability to score more inside as well. That inside-out game can be deadly. Mitchell Saxon, top of the key. Kicks to Mahaney, almost a turnover. I think they're going to call it off of Ben Gregg. That's good defense, though. Ben Gregg's got to be an enforcer in the second half. We know what Ben Gregg has brought to the Zags lineup since he was inserted into it. He brings toughness, tenacity. He's a really good guy on the glass as well, something that he's not really done a good job of in this game. Sax has been dominating the boards. EK and Gregg have struggled to get rebounds. But Ben Gregg has to be a guy that gets the energy up for Gonzaga. I mean, he is an energy guy. I mean, he has a stat line of 8 points, 8 rebounds, like 3 steals, couple of assists. That's the type of game that you want from Ben Gregg. And he's had some moments, but it hasn't been consistent enough. But Gonzaga did do a good job here. They just forced St. Mary's to take a timeout because Aiden Mahaney got stuck in the left corner. Aiden Mahaney was trying to find a way to get the ball out of the corner because it was around the half-court line, and that is when he had to call a timeout. And that's a smart play by Aiden Mahaney because of the fact that if you turn it over there and Gonzaga gets a bucket, then Randy Bennett's probably going to call a timeout anyway. So you really didn't do anything wrong by calling one. They still got 2 timeouts left, but it still stings for St. Mary's that you basically had to take a timeout on a play that should have never occurred. That ball should have never got stuck in the corner around the half-court line. You never want to be on the 4 corners of the half-court, near the half-court line or around the baseline in the back corners. You just never want to be stuck there. It's absolutely dangerous spot to be in. And when you see, like, at the end of games and guys pass the ball to a player that's in the corner, why did you do that? Like, I don't understand it. Get the ball in the middle of the floor. You're going to be safe 99% of the time if you do. Michael Williams, appreciate you for being here. Says it looks like that year that St. Mary's could actually win a game or two in the big dance. For sure. Appreciate you being here, Michael Williams, but I agree. I mean, St. Mary's is consistent. I mean, they've always been consistent. We know that Randy Bennett, it's not Gonzaga. They're not bringing in, 4 and 5 star talent and getting the Final Fours, but they always are a tough out, and they usually do win a game in the tournament most years, or sometimes they don't, but sometimes they do. But I think this team has a shot. It's just going to come down to matchups. The tournament, a lot of it is matchups. If St. Mary's plays a team that kind of likes to play fast, but they have an off night, and the St. Mary's style of play wins out, they can definitely win. And if Augustus Marcelionis and Aiden Mahaney hit shots, if they hit shots and they don't turn the ball over, St. Mary's can win. I just think the issue for St. Mary's, especially if they don't win this game, is they might get in the 8-9 game and they might win that first game, but I don't think St. Mary's is going to beat a 1 seed. I mean, they could. Anything's possible, but that would be very tough for them to do. Dave Valensky says, what seed do you think the winner of this game will get in the NCAA tournament? I can tell you which we'll see. They don't want the 5 seed. Yeah, you don't want to be a 5 or a 6 seed, really. I just think both seeds are just dangerous. The 12 seed and the 11 seed, they're always out for blood, thinking they're under respect and undervalued. Those 12 seeds are always dangerous because you're like getting the best of the mid-majors. And then the 11 seeds, sometimes it's a team that you barely squeaked in the tournament, but they might be playing good ball down the stretch. It's just never a good seed you want to be. I think, to be honest, the loser of this game might be an 8 seed, especially if it's St. Mary's. And the winner might be, for Gonzaga, they might be a 6 seed with a win. St. Mary's might be a 7 seed with a win. And with a loss, Gonzaga might be a 7 seed. St. Mary's might be an 8 seed. That's the way I see it. I think the bracket in the tournament committee is going to be a little bit more favorable to Gonzaga than they are to St. Mary's, especially how Gonzaga's been playing down the stretch. And plus they're, a bigger brand, more eyeballs and that kind of stuff. We'll see. But I think that's just kind of be how it kind of works. Oh my goodness. Did he get that shot to go before the shot clock expired? Aiden Mahaney in the left corner just drained a triple. But I don't know if he was out of his hands before the time at 0. But if he hit that shot, oh man. Behind the line, he's not out of bounds. Oh, it's still in his hand. It's still in his hand. But what a shot by Mahaney regardless. They only had like 1 second to work with. Wow. Aiden Mahaney, he is on fire, though. Couldn't get that shot to fall. So that's a big break for Gonzaga because of the fact that the shot clock expired. Couldn't get that shot to count for Mahaney. I mean, that's just a tough break. I mean, I'd be upset if I hit a great shot like that and then it was just barely the time expired. That would stink. Anton Watson, though, back to Gonzaga's bread and butter, getting it in the low block for a little floater. Zags have cut it to 7. St. Mary's needs a bucket to keep Gonzaga at bay. Anton Watson up to 12 points. Mason Forbes down on the right block, decides to kick it back out to Mahaney. Back to Forbes, outside to Dukas with a shot fake, driving on Watson. Dukas kicks back to Forbes on EK. And Forbes goes up strong, and EK just picked up his 4th. That's such a bad foul by Graham EK. I mean, he's arguably Gonzaga's most important player. I know technically Ron Nembhard is Gonzaga's most important player because he's the point guard, but if it's not Nembhard, it's EK because he's dominant in the post. And I know Gonzaga has Ben Gregg and they have Braden Huff, but neither of those guys are as dominant as Graham EK is. He's gotten a whole lot better on the low block. He's gotten a lot better as a rebounder. He can even stretch the floor a little bit, knock down jumpers now. And then guess what? Graham EK picks up 2 really not smart fouls. That's all I can say. Both fouls were not smart by Graham EK, and now he's going to be riding the bench for probably the next 7 to 8 minutes. St. Mary's has to take advantage of that. St. Mary's split the free throw, so it's 43-35. They've got an 8-point lead. Gonzaga playing with arguably their best player on the bench, and Graham EK. Now Nembhard, it's his turn. He's got to take over. He drives in. Marcelionis playing great defense. Nembhard thought about the step back 3. Kicks to Ben Gregg, and Ben Gregg, the bastion of consistency for the Zags, knocking down a 3. They needed that shot in the worst way. Bulldogs cut it to 5. Gonzaga's 2 of 7 from 3. St. Mary's is 5 of 11. Mason Forbes almost turns it over. He's still battling with the ball. And now there's a little bit of tension. Both teams are kind of going after each other a little bit. You don't want to fight because then technical fouls are going to ensue. We'll see. They had to break them up. I don't know if St. Mary's called a timeout, though. If Mason Forbes actually called a timeout there, then that means St. Mary's is only going to have 1 timeout left. I'm not sure if they did call a timeout or if it was a top. It could have been a top. But regardless, the referees are discussing. There might be some infractions here. Both teams were getting a little chippy. I mean, Mason Forbes was battling with that ball, and then he kind of runs into Watson. Looks like he's trying to take the ball out of his hands, and then the refs had to break it up. Randy Bennett was not too happy. Man, this thing could get tense late. I mean, we still got 14 to go, and it's already getting a little chippy. And that's without Graham EK on the floor. Graham EK's not even on the floor, and it's getting chippy. Graham EK, by far the most imposing player on Gonzaga's team. He's on the bench, but Watson and Forbes exchanging, I wouldn't really say pleasantries. They're still reviewing, and I have no idea what they're going to call here. I mean, I think at the end of the day, they should just wave it off. I mean, I know sometimes referees like to give a technical foul, like a double technical, to say, don't do this again. You know, just don't do it again. We're trying to nip it in the bud now, as Barney Fife would say. You know, we got to make sure nothing gets out of hand. So we're going to call the double technical. I mean, if they do that, I'm fine with it, but I don't really think either player really deserves a double technical, though. I mean, it's just both guys being physical, both guys trying to go after the ball. I mean, when Forbes had it, I mean, Watson really shouldn't have tried to take it out of his hands, but I do think Forbes was talking to him, so that might have spurred it a little bit, but we'll have to see. Monster Meat Max's Aiden Mahaney just splashed it. I mean, Aiden Mahaney, he's playing great. He's a big reason why St. Mary's has the lead, because I'm not saying he's been playing poorly, but like last few weeks, Aiden Mahaney, I just felt like he's kind of taken a back seat a little bit to Augustus Marcelionis with how well he's been playing. But Aiden Mahaney, he is the backcourt player for St. Mary's that is absolutely pivotal to their success. If St. Mary's is going to win an NCAA tournament game or two, Aiden Mahaney has to play well. He's got to knock down shots. He's got to be that guy because he's by far, you know, arguably the most talented guard on the roster. Yeah, Marcelionis is a fantastic passer, but Aiden Mahaney's got the moves. He can drive. He can shoot. Pretty solid passer as well. Got to be that backcourt tandem. Got to have Aiden Mahaney playing well, and he's had a really good game in this one. But there's still so much time left. The only issue for Gonzaga is that Graham EK has 4 fouls. But they're only down 5, and if Braden Huff can just hold down the fort, maybe Gonzaga, if they can keep it around this 5 to 6 point game, don't let it get out of hand, and then they can bring EK back in for the final few minutes, Gonzaga can still win. But St. Mary's, they've been very composed, but the Bulldogs are creeping back in. I don't think they called anything on either team. So that's good by the refs. Just can't let emotions get out of hand. Watson and Forbes are still on the floor. Top of the key. Nembhard with the ball. He's driving in, going up strong off glass, and he lays it in. And just like that, Gonzaga with their best player on the bench, only down by 3. Very key moment of this game for St. Mary's. Everything's been going well for them in this game, but they cannot blow it right here. They have to continue to be the enforcing team. Gonzaga's starting to impose their will, get in their heads a little bit. Mahaney with the ball. Back to Marcelionis. He thought about the 3. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Marcelionis kicks to Mitchell Saxon. He takes contact, and he's going to the line. That's a very smart play by Mitchell Saxon, though, because he could have just went up straight with a floater, but instead he took contact from Braden Huff, and he knows that Braden Huff is not as experienced of a player as Graham Ike, even though Graham Ike's made a couple of really bad mistakes with fouls in this game. But the problem for St. Mary's is that Saxon does sometimes struggle at the line. He did just knock down the first, but he already has missed a free throw in this game. So Saxon has to knock down these free throws when he's given the chance. He's got 11 rebounds and 14 points. You can't fault his effort, but he just missed another free throw, and now they call a foul on Alex Dukas. So on the rebound attempt, trying to go after the ball on that free throw miss by Saxon, Dukas picks up a foul. Not needed. St. Mary's only has 2 fouls, though. Gonzaga has 7. So St. Mary's has a lot of fouls to give, but not a smart foul by Dukas. Nembhard with the ball. Gonzaga down by 4. 13-10 to go in the game. Where's the offense going to come from besides Ron Nembhard? Now Watson with it. He's had a pretty solid game. On the left block, backing down on Forbes, who he was getting into it with earlier in the game. Back out to Ben Gregg. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Ben Gregg kicks to Braden Huff, and they call a foul on Mitchell Saxon. That might be Saxon's 3rd. I think he had 2 fouls in the first half. So not dire yet for the Gales, but that's smart by Gonzaga. Get Mitchell Saxon in foul trouble, just like St. Mary's did with Graham Ike. If you get Saxon out of the game, St. Mary's backup bigs just aren't really that capable of holding the fort down, nowhere near as well as Saxon does. At least Gonzaga has Braden Huff, who is definitely a downgrade from Graham Ike, but he is a solid player and he is improving. And Braden Huff, he knocks down both free throws, very key for Gonzaga. Got to hit your free throws, and still it's a 2-point game. I mean, you can't stress enough how big of a deal this is for Gonzaga and the fact that their best player's on the bench and they're only down 2. And actually, they've been cutting the lead. Dukas kicks to Aiden Mahaney, and Mahaney's 3 is short, and Braden Huff getting that very important board for the Zags. 12:30 to go in the second half. Nembhard transition 3. It's off the mark, and Forbes has the board. Under 12:30 to go. That would have been a huge make for Gonzaga. Nembhard was wide open. He can hit that shot, too. St. Mary's has never trailed in this game, and their largest lead was by 11. They're only up by 2 now. Saxon kicks to Forbes. What a pass by Saxon. He might have got fouled on that play, but that was a fantastic pass. Forbes with a very athletic layup. Gales back up by 4. 46-42. Ron Nembhard dribbling around at the top of the key at the WCC logo. Trying to get a screen from Ben Gregg. Doesn't happen. Good defense by the Gales. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Nembhard driving into the lane. His shot's off the mark, and a rebound by Marcelionis. That's good defense by St. Mary's. Forced a very tough shot from Ron Nembhard. Mahaney, top of the key. Gets a screen from Forbes. Marcelionis back to Forbes, and his shot was barely off the rim, but they're going to call a foul. So Forbes is going to be going to the line out of the timeout, under 12 to go. Gonzaga already has 8 fouls in this second half, and that's crazy to me because Gonzaga in their last, I would say, 5 or 6 games has dominated their opponent at the free throw line. Like San Francisco and their last 2 matchups with them, they shot way more free throws than the Dons. They shot more free throws than St. Mary's in Moraga, California a week and a half ago. But in this game, even though Gonzaga and St. Mary's, I think, have around the same amount of free throws at the line and so far in this one, that might end up changing if they keep fouling St. Mary's. St. Mary's has shot more free throws than Gonzaga in the second half, and Gonzaga just keeps fouling. And the thing is like, we know Gonzaga is a physical team, but normally they're just smarter on not committing fouls, and they're very handsy in this one. Graham Ike, all he had to do was just go straight up. But unfortunately for Gonzaga, he just lowered his arms, fouled him on the arm, but fouled Saxon a couple times, and they just continue to do it. Now Forbes, even though he's not a great free throw shooter, it's still good for St. Mary's that they're getting Gonzaga's players in some foul trouble. And even if they split the free throws, it's still a win. But St. Mary's needs to hit more of their free throws. Michael Williams says Mahaney has to be one of the most underrated players in the nation. Absolutely. Mahaney's fantastic. I feel like Mahaney got more attention last year because he was a freshman and he was one of St. Mary's, I guess you would say, highest ranked recruits of all time. And he played very well as a freshman. But now that he's a sophomore and his improvement hasn't been all that significant, and Augustus Marcelionis has improved in the backcourt, and he's kind of like gotten more of attention himself, I feel like Aiden Mahaney is kind of gotten forgotten about a little bit. But he's great. Like, he is a really good player, very fun to watch. He plays so hard. And if St. Mary's does end up winning, he's going to be a big reason why, because he's played great in this game. He's shot threes. He's defended well. He's gotten in the lane. He's passing well. And when him and Marcelionis are both clicking, St. Mary's is dangerous. Dave Valensky says St. Mary's sounds like old school Ivy League style. For sure. Absolutely. Alex Ramos asks, is the starting center for Zaga in right now? Definitely not. When you did ask 15 minutes ago, though, he was in the game. But right now, Alex, he is not in. And again, it's very impressive for Gonzaga that they're in this game, even with him on the bench, because St. Mary's could have started to pull away. They could have started to pull away with EK on the bench, but that's not happening because Gonzaga has other players that are really solid as well. Nembhard is one of the better point guards in the country. Braden Huff is an underrated backup big. Ben Gregg is solid. Anton Watson is solid. So they can live without EK, but it does hurt their ability, to be a complete offensive team, because I feel like it puts more pressure on a guy like Anton Watson when normally he doesn't have as much pressure on him because EK's in. So we'll have to see how things go. Forbes did split the free throws. He basically goes 1-1 every single time. Forbes does. But St. Mary's has more free throws than Gonzaga. They're splitting them the last few trips to the line, but now the Gales are up by 5, 47-42, and almost a turnover for the Gonzaga Bulldogs, but they were able to maintain possession. Nembhard driving in on Marcelionis off glass. It's off the mark, and Marcelionis has the board. And now the game is starting to go back to St. Mary's style. Gonzaga's offensive possessions are taking a while to develop. They're not running the floor like they would like to, and that is definitely benefiting the Gales. Barrett is in the game for St. Mary's. He's a solid backup player. He kicks it to Mahaney, and there you go. The presence of Aiden Mahaney, his ability to knock down the triple and also get into the paint and lay it in. That's a very athletic play. He's got 18 points. 49-42 St. Mary's. Anton Watson left block, driving on Saxon. He goes up strong off the mark. Ben Gregg with the offensive rebound. Ben Gregg with the layup and one. What a play. I don't know how Ben Gregg got that offensive rebound. Somehow split the two defenders and went reverse off the glass. I mean, that is an insane play right there by Ben Gregg. Shows you how important he is for Gonzaga. I mean, he's a taller player, but he's got moves, and he can knock down that triple. That's a good play. A lot of commentators have said that he's one of the most hardest working players in college basketball. I mean, he works harder than most. There are a lot of guys that you could give that label to, but he's probably in the top 10 to 15 players in college basketball for how hard he works. I mean, he just is a tough player. He did miss the free throw, though. St. Mary's is 8 of 12 at the line. Gonzaga is 6 of 9. Gonzaga not having a very dominant game from the stripe. Top of the key, Barrett dribbling, nowhere to go, kicks to Aiden Mahaney, who definitely can dribble to somewhere where it can end up in points. And unfortunately for St. Mary's, it did not happen that time. But I see where Mahaney was going with it. Nembhard driving into the lane. He is not able to get the floater to fall. I'm telling you, St. Mary's post defense has been stellar. They are giving Nembhard fits down there. It's good defense from Saxon. And more importantly, he did not foul because he has 3. Cannot pick up a 4th. Dukas with a screen. Saxon with another screen. Off that screen, Marcel Leonis into the paint. What a shot by him. Showing off a little of that Aiden Mahaney athleticism. 51-44. What a swat by Barrett. Gonzaga's just out of sorts. They're down 7. There's 9 to go in the game, and they're a little sped up. I mean, that's a really good block by St. Mary's. Barrett timed it perfectly. He knew exactly when he was going to be going up for that shot. Timed it right when it was at his apex. Anton Watson, down low, kicks back to Dusty Stromer. Mark Fee probably hoping that one of these guys can give Gonzaga a little bit of energy off the bench. Hickman in the lane. That's a good shot from Nolan Hickman. We have not said his name in a while, but that's a good shot. 51-46, 9 to go in the second half. Hickman only has 6 points, but he needs to get going for the Zags if they want to win. Marcel Leon is top of the key. 8:40 to go in the second half. Steal. Dusty Stromer with the ball. And I think they're going to call, Marcel Leonis, it might have been a double dribble or a carry, one of the two. But he got kind of caught in no man's land. Yeah, that was good defense from Gonzaga. They definitely confused him there. He kind of got stuck, and he ended up making a mistake. Something that's rare for him because he's a really good ball handler, but that's a tough break. Anton Watson inbounding the ball. Oh, I think they might have called a push-off, so he's got 3 fouls. Yeah, they called a push-off on Marcel Leonis. I thought it was a double dribble, though. Nembhard driving in. Kicks to Watson, and Gonzaga cutting it to 3, all while Graham Ike's on the bench. They just are hanging around. St. Mary's cannot extend this out to a point where Gonzaga can go in complete panic mode. They were up by 7, but Gonzaga's cut it back to 3. Mahaney went up for a layup. And then Saxon got the board, and I think they just called an offensive foul on Mitchell Saxon. And if that is on Saxon, that is his 4th. So now the Gonzaga Bulldogs have returned the favor. St. Mary's got Ike out of the game by giving him 4 fouls. Now Saxon has 4 fouls. So both teams' centers are out of the game in foul trouble. And to me, that benefits Gonzaga because St. Mary's backup centers are not as impactful as Gonzaga's backup centers. So this is not good for the Gales. And plus, you remember how I said a few minutes ago, St. Mary's had only 2 fouls. Now they got 7. So now St. Mary's is in the bonus just like Gonzaga. Everything's going Gonzaga's way right now. Watson hit both free throws. We got a 1-point game. The crowd is back into it. Can St. Mary's, without Mitchell Saxon, turn this thing around? Marcel Leonis kicks to Barrett. Now over to Aiden Mahaney. He's got to take over. 8 to go. Watson on Mahaney. Mahaney with a killer crossover. He almost turns it over. Now he's stuck in the paint, tries to kick to Forbes, and what a steal by Nembhard. Nembhard down the floor, almost deflected by Marcel Leonis, but it's back out to Nolan Hickman. 7:50 to go in the second half. Hickman, Marcel Leonis guarding him. St. Mary's has never trailed in this game, but Gonzaga has a chance to take the lead, and they just called another foul on St. Mary's. I think Aiden Mahaney might have taken a shot from Anton Watson, but unfortunately for the Gales, Mahaney is picking up the foul. And the Gonzaga crowd, they're going absolutely nuts. And see, that's why it was better for St. Mary's when they had the lead. Because now that Gonzaga is cutting this lead and it's down to 1, the Bulldogs crowd is back in it. When St. Mary's was up by like 7 or 8 and they were up by 11 at that one point, the crowd got kind of quiet. But now the Bulldogs, the crowd is back in full force. And I just don't think St. Mary's really took advantage of Graham Ike being on the bench. I mean, Mitchell Saxon was almost playing better when Graham Ike was in the game. It's almost like that physicality. He was going all in there. But now that he left the game and foul trouble, Saxon just kind of started making mistakes, wasn't playing as well. And now Gonzaga's starting to own the paint again, now that Saxon's not in. And even when Ike and Saxon both return, neither player can really be all that physical because one more foul and they're done. I just think if St. Mary's, if Dukas doesn't get going, if Marcelionis and Mahaney can't continue to be the stabilitating forces out there at the guard position, if they're not going to continue to play well, Gonzaga's got this game because Ryan Nembhard, you can just tell when Ryan Nembhard hits another gear, it's over. And you can see it in his eyes. He's starting to run with a purpose. He's getting into the lane. He knows now that Saxon's not in, that he can get in the paint. And then you're seeing guys like Anton Watson and Ben Gregg. They're stepping up. Even Braden Huff's made a couple good plays. It's going to be interesting. But all signs are pointing in favor of Gonzaga right now. Jackson says it's amazing that Gonzaga and St. Mary's have played each other in a conference title game more than Duke and UNC have. Yeah, that's true, Jackson. I will say, I think it's because, though, that the ACC is more competitive because there's more good teams. Like, you have Virginia and, other teams in the conference can be, competitive as well. I think that's probably why. And there's more teams, so there's a better chance to get upset. I mean, you got to realize that in the WCC, the conference tournament's so small because there's not that many teams in the conference. So, like Gonzaga and St. Mary's, if they're the 1 and 2 seed, then they're playing in the semifinal. All they got to do is win one game, and they're already in the title game. So, while I get 100% agree with you, Jackson, that's absolutely insane how Gonzaga and St. Mary's have played more. I think that's why. Appreciate you for being here, Drix. He says, who will win? I mean, I picked Gonzaga to win when I made my short for this game, predicting the WCC championship game. I picked Gonzaga. But if you asked me that question, which you actually did, you asked me about 15 minutes ago, but 15 minutes ago, I would have said St. Mary's. The way that they were playing Ike in foul trouble, it looked good for the Gales. But now I'm saying Gonzaga. All tides are turning for them. Gonzaga's getting to the line again. They're knocking down their free throws. Watson just tied it up with his first free throw. It's 51-all. And now Randy Bennett is rolling the dice by putting Mitchell Saxon back in with 7:40 to go in the second half. And he's got 4 fouls. Mark Few's not putting Ike in because he doesn't have to. Marcelionis missed the layup. Gonzaga has their first lead of the game. Can the Gales respond? They did get the offensive board. Mahaney, top of the key, kicks down low to Saxon, who cannot pick up a fifth, and there's a foul on Ben Gregg. And that's not a smart foul by Ben Gregg. Ben Gregg's been playing well in the last couple minutes. He's been playing very well, but that was one of his biggest mistakes of the game. There's no reason to do that. You can double, you can put your hands up, but you can't foul because now you're giving St. Mary's an opportunity to retake the lead. So Saxon's at the line. His first free throw, it's good. So he will get the second free throw out of this 1-and-1. Terrence Fisher says, who will win? Honest opinion. So you were responding to that I didn't ask. Sorry, I just hadn't got to the comment yet. I'm sorry about that. But I'm going to say Gonzaga. I think they're going to pull it out, but we'll see. St. Mary's could gut this thing out because Saxon did knock down both free throws. So the Gales are back in front, 53-52. 7:10 to go in the second half. Nembhard in the lane, kicks back to Nolan Hickman. Hickman shooting a three. His shot is off the mark. Saxon with the board. And if it gets to around 5 minutes left and the Gales have extended this back out to 5 or 6, I think Mark Few will bring back Graham Ike to the game. He knows that he'll have to, but right now he doesn't have to do it. Marcelionis, top of the key, driving on Dusty Stromer. Gets caught. Mason Forbes. Nobody on Mason Forbes. Ben Gregg didn't switch. Ben Gregg did not switch over. Big mistake. Ben Gregg's made 2 big mistakes in the last minute. That's a fantastic play by Forbes. Good pass by Marcelionis. Gales up by 3. 6:20 to go. Nembhard with the ball. He loses it, regains possession, shoots a three. His shot's off the mark, and the ball is over the backboard. So it will be Gale's ball. That's a great pass. I mean, you've got Marcelionis being heavily guarded, finds Forbes for the big slam. 6:10 to go. 28 points in the paint for St. Mary's, 26 points in the paint for Gonzaga. So Gonzaga has not owned the paint like they normally have recently. Mahaney stuck in the corner, kicks to Forbes, back out to Marcelionis. Kicks back to Forbes, almost a turnover, and the ball is off of the Zags. But very good defense from Anton Watson, almost forcing the turnover on that play. Barrett's coming back in the game. I think Randy Bennett's taking out Forbes. Dukas has been very quiet for St. Mary's, but it still hasn't mattered. The Gales are up by 3. Might need him in a minute. Mahaney down low to Forbes, and that's a bad throw. I mean, that was scripted. You could tell Nembhard knew it right when Mahaney threw it. Absolutely a bad pass. Great steal. 5:30 to go in the second half. Nembhard over to Nolan Hickman. Down low to Anton Watson. Forbes on him on the left block, kind of at the elbow. Back to Watson, driving inside. His shot rolls off the rim. Dukas with the board. Dukas might not be providing a lot on offense, but he's filling in while Saxon is back on the bench for St. Mary's. That's a smart decision by Randy Bennett to take Saxon back out since St. Mary's extended it back to 3 points. Randy Bennett, very smart coach. Mahaney, top of the key, being guarded by Ben Gray. That's a mismatch. Kicks to Barrett, off the mark, bad shot, but then Forbes with the offensive rebound. Out to Mahaney, who's absolutely a threat from 3. What a shot by Mahaney. And I think Mark Few is going to have to bring Graham Ike back into this game. Timeout, Gonzaga. What a response by St. Mary's. It kind of looks like when they took Saxon out, though, it spreads the offense out. When you do not have EK in the game or Saxon, both teams, it's spread. You've got a couple forwards on the shorter side, more guards, and that's benefiting St. Mary's. You would think it would benefit Gonzaga, but Gonzaga is not shooting the 3 ball very well right now. That's the problem for Gonzaga. When I said in my short, previewing and predicting this game, I was like, Gonzaga's been shooting the 3 ball very well, and that has made their post domination more prevalent because when you're shooting the 3 well, you have to guard the guys at the 3-point line a lot more heavily. So then that allows the guys inside to become more dominant when it's a one-on-one matchup. You can't double team as much if you're shooting well from 3. Well, the issue for Gonzaga, they don't have their big because he's in foul trouble, and their 3s aren't falling anymore. They are struggling from the outside. St. Mary's, meanwhile, Aiden Mahaney is probably playing his best game that I've seen since the first time St. Mary's knocked off Gonzaga earlier this season in Spokane. I mean, he's playing great. I mean, he's on fire. He's juiced up. I mean, he's screaming, yelling on the floor. You can just tell he is amped. And that's not a good sign for Gonzaga. You can't leave him open either. It's just bad news for Gonzaga. Michael Williams said the Zags also have Nolan Hickman, which is a pretty decent player for Gonzaga, coming off the bench. Nolan Hickman's gotten a lot better. I mean, he's gotten a lot better, but he's just not having a great game. I think he's got like 6-7 points. Just hasn't impacted this game probably to the point that Mark Few was hoping for. But like I said, there he is. Graham Ike's back in. Can he be smart and not pick up a 5th? Because if he does, that might be it for Gonzaga. 4:50 to go in the second half. EK with only 8 points. The Gales have done a great job shutting him down for the most part. Watson with the ball, kicking it to EK. He's being guarded by Saxon, and Saxon just let him have it. Smart play by Saxon. Can't pick up your 5th. So it could be a deal where St. Mary's and Gonzaga just keep throwing it to their bigs, and then the defender just doesn't foul. So we'll see how that goes back and forth here. Marcelionis trying to drive on EK. Backs up. Almost loses the ball, regains control. 4:10 to go in the second half. 10 on the shot clock. Ben Gregg guarding Marcelionis. Back to Saxon, back to Marcelionis for 3. It's off the mark. And Forbes with the offensive rebound. I mean, Gonzaga has been so dominant on the glass this season, one of the best rebounding teams this year, but St. Mary's is out-rebounding the Zags. Aiden Mahaney at the top of the key. He's got EK on him. He's driving on EK, goes up strong. Wow. And they call a foul on Gonzaga. Is that EK's fifth? Did they actually call that on Graham EK? If they did, oh, man. I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm not 100% sure if they did, but EK, he had his hands up to his face, so he might have picked up his fifth, and there was just no reason to foul. I mean, Mahaney, that was a tough angle. I mean, more than likely, he's not going to hit that shot. We'll have to see, but it could end up being the end of the game for Graham EK, and if it is, I mean, St. Mary's has the inside track to maybe win. Jackson says, breaking news, Kenny Payne and Louisville have parted ways. That's not a shock. I mean, Kenny Payne, I hate it for him, but 2 horrible seasons at Louisville. Yes, we know what he inherited. We know what he took over. It wasn't all that great, but things just did not get any better. He brought in some decent players. I mean, Sky Clark, Brandon Huntley, Hatfield, it didn't work. I mean, they had a terrible season just like last year. So that's absolutely not a surprise, but thanks for the update. Jackson, sources have told the Field of 68, so it is the end of the Kenny Payne era at Louisville. But it is not the end of the Mark Few or Randy Bennett era at St. Mary's or Gonzaga as of now, because both coaches are elite. They're fantastic coaches. We don't know when Mark Few is going to retire. I mean, he could retire soon, but we'll have to see. He's had a great career, but his team's in some trouble, and their dominance in the WCC tournament could be getting a little bit hampered, could be coming to an end a bit with St. Mary's here possibly trying to get a win. St. Mary's won it back in 2019, but Gonzaga's won 11 of the last 12 WCC tournaments. Absolute domination. And they've been dominant this season, especially on the glass. But I just can't stress enough how great St. Mary's has been on the boards in this game. That's why they're winning. That and Aiden Mahaney's three-point shooting, stretching the defense. He's been fantastic. Isaac Mack says, let's go Gonzaga. They got 4 minutes to go to get a win, Isaac. We'll have to see. It's going to be very interesting. The Polish Patriot 1776 says, hey, kid, you need to go to broadcasting school. You were good at this. Really appreciate that. I mean, maybe one day. It's definitely something I've considered. I really do enjoy calling games. It's a lot of fun. So, I mean, maybe in the future, if that is a possibility, anything's possible, maybe that is something I will pursue. But I really appreciate the compliment. It really means a lot. So we'll definitely have to see. Stephen Cherry, appreciate you for being here. Says Jeffrey's an excellent play-by-play man. ESPN could use your talent. I really appreciate that, Stephen. Hummus here is saying he really is. You guys are the best. I just appreciate you guys for being here. I mean, none of this would be possible. Would have never got to 2,000 subs. Wouldn't be here right now doing this game if you guys weren't here. You guys are the reason. Really do appreciate it. And your compliments means so much to me. I do really appreciate it. And again, anything's possible in life. Maybe in the future that will be a possibility that I could pursue play-by-play. I don't know. Like I said, it's a lot of fun, though. I mean, the guys on TV, they love doing it. They really enjoy it, and I do really enjoy doing it as well. So, like I said, I really appreciate all you guys, though. Could not do it without you. But Mitchell Saxon, yet again, splitting the free throws. That's something that's keeping Gonzaga in this game because St. Mary's has struggled at the line overall. Their overall percentage is under 70%. Not ideal, but the Gales are still up 5. Saxon with 4 fouls. Marcelionis and Dukas have 3. EK with 4 fouls for Gonzaga. He's backing down Saxon on the block. So they did not call the foul on EK. Gonzaga called a break. I thought it was because he had his hands on his head, but EK is still in the game. EK misses the jump hook, and Mahaney with the board. That's a shot that EK normally makes, but he was not able to hit that one. And that's a big miss because you know St. Mary's is going to bleed clock. They got a 5-point lead. There's only around 3 minutes left in this game, so the possessions are getting very low. There are not a lot of possessions left in this game. Mahaney, top of the key. EK on him, takes a mid-range jumper, and he knocks it down. It's pure. 61-54, 2:40 to go in the second half. 7-point lead for the Gales. This is the exact type of game that St. Mary's loves. A high 50s, low 60s type of game. Watson misses the 3. EK can't get the board. and I think they're going to call it off of St. Mary's, no foul. But, man, the Gales are just out hustling Gonzaga. Crazy how well that they are playing. No, they actually called a foul. I didn't see it. I did not see the foul call, but Marcelionis just picked up his 4th. That's wild. That is a bailout for Gonzaga. Everything was going right for the Gales. Looked like the ball just went off of St. Mary's, but nope, EK's going to the line. So EK drew a foul. He's a pretty good free throw shooter, but he did struggle in the San Francisco game. So we'll have to see in this clutch moment here. Can he hit his free throws? The 1-and-1, and he missed. He missed the free throw. So a 7-point deficit for Gonzaga with 2:30 to go, and you're playing with one of the slowest teams in college basketball possession-wise. This is not looking good for Gonzaga. EK had to hit those free throws. Marcelionis, top of the key. Driving on EK in the lane, goes up with the floater, and it goes in. What a shot by Marcelionis. The Gales crowd's going crazy. 63-54, 2 to go. And I dare say Gonzaga is in danger zone. They're almost done. Nembhard with a jumper, it's good. So that keeps Gonzaga in it. But if a miss there, this game might have been almost done. It's not over yet. But they need a turnover. They need a stop right here. Dukas kicks to Marcelionis. 63-56. 1:40 to go. Nembhard's had a good game, 11 points and 11 assists, but he hasn't had enough points to counter Mahaney's 23 points. He's been excellent in this game on offense for the Gales. Marcelionis, he's been heating up lately. Kicks down low to Forbes. Ooh, Forbes just fell hard to the deck. I hope he's okay. He's going to be going to the line. He got fouled, but he just fell to the deck. His family in attendance. Very concerned. That's a tough fall. That is a tough fall. I mean, you got to give both teams credit. They're playing hard. Nothing malicious there, doesn't look like, but Forbes is shaking up. Hopefully he's okay, but it almost would benefit St. Mary's if Forbes can't shoot these because he's not shooting well at the line. I mean, if they have somebody like Dukas or Aid Mahaney at the line, there's a better chance that guy would hit the free throws. But I do hope Forbes is going to be all right and he can shoot these for St. Mary's. But he has been really struggling at the line. The transfer from Harvard, just been a big addition for Randy Bennett's squad this season. I mean, he's the type of guy. He embodies what Randy Bennett wants with his offense. A guy that works hard, plays within himself. I mean, he's not the greatest offensive threat, but he's gotten better down the stretch of the season. Struggles at the line, but he's a good program type of player. And he's still on the deck. Teammates are trying to help him up. Randy Bennett's on the floor, seeing if he's okay. I don't know. He was grabbing his head, but I'm not sure if it's his head. He's kind of walking gingerly. I don't know if he fell on his arm, but it does not look like Forbes is going to shoot these free throws. So we'll see what happens. They're showing the replay. Marcelionis with a great pass to Forbes. Yeah, I think he fell on his arm. Maybe he fell a little bit on his head too. Yeah, that's just tough. Man, that's a tough fall. It's going to be interesting to see. I can't remember though. Yeah, I think the opponent gets to decide. If a player can't shoot, because yeah, St. Mary's would have liked to have had Mahaney, but you have a smart coach and Mark Few picking Mitchell Saxon to shoot the free throws instead. And Saxon just missed the first because he struggles at the line just like Forbes. Saxon 7 of 11 at the line. Make that 7 of 12. Saxon went 0 for 2 at the line. The Zags still have life. Nembhard, though, with a turnover almost, and they're calling a top, and it's St. Mary's basketball. They've got the possession arrow. Big mistake by Nembhard. He has not made a lot of mistakes in this game. He's played very well. Great passer. He's got 11 assists. You definitely can't blame him if Gonzaga doesn't win, but that's a costly turnover right there. He went through a double team, and that's just not going to work 90% of the time. Big mistake. He slaps the floor. You can tell he is frustrated. He knows that Gonzaga is in big trouble. All St. Mary's has to do is just hit free throws. I mean, they've missed like their last 3 free throws. Just got to make your free throws and don't turn it over. Mahaney's got the ball. Oh, no. Marcelionis, he might have stepped on the line when he passed it to Mahaney, and he's mad. He's talking with the ref. Mahaney's trying to tell him to calm down, though, because you don't want to pick up a technical arguing with the referees. Let's see. He's being guarded by Nimhard. Man, that's a close-up. It's so blurry. Can't see it from there. Yeah, I think he might have been out of bounds. His back foot. He jumped in the air, but his back foot might have been on the line. The Polish Patriot says, hey, Amos, who won the national title in football this year? Go Blue. Yes, Michigan did a great job in football. And right now, St. Mary's is doing a great job in this WCC championship game, but they're not pulling this thing out because Marcelionis looks like he might have stepped on the line. And that's going to give the ball back to Gonzaga and give them yet another chance. Stephen Cherry says, agreed, Amos Buckeyes will beat Iowa and Illinois and punch their tournament ticket. Yeah, if Ohio State can beat Iowa and Illinois, they're in. If they only beat Iowa and lose to Illinois, they're probably out. And if they lose to Iowa, they're not going to get in. But going to be interesting. Vision Caesar, appreciate you for being here. He says, need Ron to do something. Yeah, Ron Nimhard, he's had a great game, but it's not the game that Gonzaga needed. He's been a great facilitator. I mean, 11 assists. You can't ever complain when your point guard has 11 assists, but he's only had 11 points. And with Aiden Mahaney having 23 points for St. Mary's, it just hasn't matched in the score column. Vision sees a need Ron to get the 2-pointers. Yeah, he settled for threes a little bit too much. I agree. Hummus Hero says, let's hope they can get 2 wins, Steven. If they do beat Illinois, that's 3 great wins on the resume. Again, I think if Ohio State beats Illinois and Iowa, they have to be in. I know the bubble, is a little bit off Ohio State's radar. They're kind of like 8 or 9 teams out, but those 2 would be huge wins, and I think they should be in, Hummus Hero. I agree if that's the case, especially with their assistant coach outperforming what Chris Holtman did. The Buckeyes playing their best basketball right now. That they would deserve credit, in my opinion. They should get in. Jackson Johnson, appreciates the comment, says, if Mark Few retires, I wonder if we could see him as an analyst. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, Jackson. I think that he could be. We've seen Jim Boeheim do it. We've seen Jay Wright do it. A lot of coaches are becoming analysts these days, so it's possible. 1:19 to go in the second half, though, and Gonzaga, they do get the ball off the mistake by St. Mary's. EK on the left block, kicks to Watson, back to EK on Saxon, and his shot rolls off the rim, but Watson with the rebound, he misses. Ben Gregg tries to go for it, and there's a travel, I think, on Gonzaga. I'm not sure, though. I mean, the referees, these calls, like sometimes you just can't really tell what's going on. 1:07 to go in the game, though. Gonzaga's gotten their opportunities. They might have called, they called a travel on St. Mary's. Gonzaga, you got to capitalize on these opportunities if you want to win. Watson on the right block. He goes up strong. He misses. And St. Mary's with the board. Gonzaga just can't buy a bucket to save their life. 50 seconds to go in the second half. They might have to foul. They're not fouling yet. 45 seconds left, and they finally do. So they just wasted 12 seconds. But what cost Gonzaga in this game is these last 3 possessions where they did not score. They had 3 chances, and they could not get a bucket. If they had scored on 2 of those possessions, they would be down by like 2 right now. But they just couldn't score. And credit the Gales. I mean, their defense, they've been fantastic in this game. They have bothered Gonzaga throughout. And when EK picked up his 4th, he has not been as dominant as he was earlier in the game. On the boards, he has really struggled. St. Mary's has just dominated on the glass. I mean, they've been fantastic in this game on the glass. This is probably the best performance that any team has done against Gonzaga this season on rebounds. Like, nobody's out rebounding Gonzaga. They're a long team, physical team, but St. Mary's just has out-hustled Gonzaga, and the Zags have just struggled to shoot. Dukas hits both free throws. Nimhard in the lane, he misses again. His signature floater just has not dropped, and Ben Gregg has to foul Dukas yet again, and Dukas, he just hit 2 free throws. If he hits 2 more, that's going to put the Gales up by double digits. the St. Mary's crowd is starting to celebrate like they know they got this game. It looks like St. Mary's is going to be able to possibly win their second WCC title in the last 5 years and end Gonzaga's 5-game win streak in the WCC title game. What a performance by St. Mary's. I mean, they deserve like a 6 seed after this performance. At least a 7 seed. They can't be an 8 seed after this. This is an impressive performance. They're returning the favor that Gonzaga sent to them in Moraga, California. Gonzaga out-hustled St. Mary's in that game, but not tonight. Dukas knocks down both free throws, 67-56. Gales in front. Nemhard, he gets an easy layup. The Gales let him have it. Don't want to foul. That's smart decision by St. Mary's. Mahaney with the ball. Kicks to Marcelionis. Now over to Barrett. Down low to Saxon for the slam. Gonzaga tried to double team, and it did not work because St. Mary's, very disciplined team, did not make a mistake. Ben Gregg with the ball. He's driving in. Yet again, St. Mary's does not foul. The smart move, 69-60. 10 seconds left, and Mark Few is called off the Dogs, pardon the pun, because the Bulldogs have lost. St. Mary's is the WCC title winner. You see Few and Randy Bennett shaking hands, Mark Few with a smile. Both coaches have so much respect for each other for what they've built at their respective programs. Gonzaga, they get all the national headlines and talk because of how great the Zags have been going to the national championship, even though they haven't been able to win, and just having so much success all around in college basketball. But St. Mary's, the underheralded, just not talked about enough program in college basketball. Underappreciated, undervalued. Randy Bennett deserves so much credit for what he's built in Moraga, California, with guys that most programs would not recruit. And St. Mary's, just consistently a top 25 team, and they're a consistent winner. And they might not go always far in the NCAA tournament, but that's not a program you want to play. Just such a disciplined team. 69-60 is the final score. What a performance. I mean, this was just total domination by the Gales. They dominated on the glass. They dominated the three-point shooting. I mean, just very impressive stuff. Very fun game to watch. Was very enjoyable from start to finish. But Gonzaga, just once EK picked up that fourth foul, they had that little stretch where they were doing all right. But then they started to panic a little bit when St. Mary's built it back up to a 6-point lead. And you could just tell that EK was not defending as hard because he didn't want to pick up that fifth foul. And to his credit, he didn't. But it just made Gonzaga's defense a whole lot worse. So St. Mary's with a 69-60 win, and they've won the WCC. Crazy. What a game. Hummus Hero says 58 watching right now. Welcome new viewers. Please consider subscribing to Only Talk Sports for excellent football and basketball predictions, analysis, breaking news, live streams, and more. Appreciate that, Hummus Hero. Couldn't have said it better myself. Really do appreciate it. But yes, I do breaking news and NFL, NBA, college basketball, and college football. Tons of live streams. Do predictions all across the sports world with games. But if you guys enjoyed the live stream, like the stream down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Share the stream on social media. But most importantly, I appreciate all you guys for just being here. This was a fantastic game, and you guys made it an even better game. It was fantastic to watch and to call. But I do appreciate you guys for being here. And thanks for the shout out, Hummus Hero. Jackson says, if you like hearing top-notch takes in the sports world, check out Only Talk Sports on Twitter. Appreciate that. Also tune in on Rumble. Appreciate that, Jackson. Dave Valensky says, with Juwan Howard most likely to be fired at Michigan, who would Michigan go after? I mean, I've seen some people say they need to get John Beilein back. That's not going to happen. But, I mean, it's a great question. I mean, with the Washington job, there's some obvious names. You got Danny Sprinkle, the Montana State / now Utah State head coach. had some success, a lot of success at those schools, and I could see him taking the Washington job. Yeah, I know people say Kyle Smith, but who knows? But with Michigan, I mean, like, I have no idea. Because, like, the West Virginia job's open. The Ohio State job's open. Even though some people think Ohio State's going to end up hiring the assistant coach, Jake Diebler, which they could. I mean, Jake Diebler deserves a look for the job because of how well he has done ever since Chris Holtmann got fired. I mean, it makes people believe that possibly Ohio State actually was really good all along, but the coaching just wasn't. I mean, I'm not sure, but whatever it is, the players are responding to Diebler, so he could get the job. So, I mean, we also have possibly Vanderbilt being open, which I know Vanderbilt's not really a top job, but there's a lot of jobs open. But it's going to be interesting. I think Michigan, I mean, they should go after a guy that knows how to recruit the Midwest, because Michigan can recruit nationally. It's not like they can't, but it would be good for a guy to be familiar with the Big Ten, and that's who they should probably go after. It stings with Juwan Howard that's not working out, but I will say, though, I mean, some people are saying the AD might give Juwan Howard another year. I mean, Ward Manuel, the AD of Michigan, he's like, I'm high on Juwan Howard. I don't see how you could be, because they've been horrible. Michigan has been absolutely abysmal to watch, but that's what he says, so we'll have to see. Clint Mose and Mark Few retires to be too busy on the lake drinking a few Collins. Yeah, that might be true. Mark Few might not want to commentate. Like Jackson said, he might just want to relax. I mean, that's smart. I mean, that's what you should do. I mean, I'm not saying once you retire from coaching that you shouldn't do anything else, but like sometimes just relax, take a load off. That's sometimes good to do. Monster Meme said Mark Few coached this game like he drives cars. So definitely you're not happy with Mark Few's coaching job. Thought he could have done better. I mean, I felt he handled the Graham Ike foul situation well, but at the end of the day, like, just Gonzaga didn't shoot the ball well enough. Ron Nembhard had like 5 or 6 floaters in the second half that he missed. All of them. And if he hits even half of those, I mean, Gonzaga might have a shot to win. But yeah, those missed free throws by St. Mary's are definitely keeping the Zags in the game, like Jackson said, when the game was still alive. But Gonzaga missed free throws too. Both teams did. But at the end of the day, St. Mary's ended up hitting more of the free throws because they took more free throws. And that ended up being the difference, kind of. Join Jen. Appreciate you for being here. Says Zags are awful tonight at three-pointers. They had the late game last night. Maybe they're gassed. That's true. Absolutely true. That's something a lot of people don't take into account with these conference tournaments. Sometimes when you play matters. I mean, Gonzaga did play last. But, I mean, they beat San Francisco fairly easily. And if I recall, because I did watch that game, Mark Few did take some of his starters out with a few minutes left, I think. So, like, they should have been kind of rested. I don't know. I mean, it's not like the Big Ten tournament or the ACC tournament where you have, like, if you're, like, in the second round, you have a first-round bye, but then you play, like, 4 games in a row and you somehow make it to the end. Like, you're really gassed. These two teams, it was only one game before this one. It's only back-to-back games. I don't really think that should have been too much of a factor, but it definitely could have been. Jackson says, if you love hearing top-notch takes in the sport world, like, comment, subscribe to Only Talk Sports. Appreciate the shout-out, Jackson. Zero says Gonzaga's had their chance. That is for sure. I mean, definitely. I mean, there's some games where you could just say, oh, that team had no chance. Like, there was no way that they could win. The other team is just dominant, and St. Mary's was very dominant in this game, but Gonzaga did have their chances. I mean, that one stretch where they had 3 possessions to score, and St. Mary's just kept turning it back over to Gonzaga, and Gonzaga still didn't do anything with it. That's why they lost. RC, appreciate you for being here. Says, hey, Only Talk Sport, what's going on? Appreciate you for being here. It's going great. March Madness is right around the corner. Feels like it's already here with these conference tournaments. Teams are already punching their bids. St. Mary's punched their bid for the tournament, even though they would have been in anyway with an at-large bid, but very impressive stuff by the Gales. Stephen Cherry says, Jeffrey, I'm surprised your Hoosiers kept Woodson instead of bringing another Bobby Knight, Prodigy, and Dusty May. Yeah, I agree, Stephen. I mean, I just feel like Woodson has done enough. I know at Indiana it's not, but, I mean, Indiana hasn't won in so long, which I'm not saying lowers their standards, but Woodson did take Indiana to 2 tournaments after Miller, and this season's not over yet. Like, they're on the outside looking in for the tournament, but they've won 4 in a row. Maybe they can go far in the Big Ten tournament, win the whole thing. I doubt that, but maybe they can somehow squeak in. I know it's not enough for Indiana fans. I think Woodson's going to get only 1 more year, though, and then he's gone. If he doesn't do anything after that, he's not going to be retained. He's going to get fired after next season if they do just as bad or worse than this season, which I know everybody's like, Indiana's going to do worse because they just lost Liam McNeely. But the transfer portal, you never know how the transfer portal is going to go. And I will say, too, it was a report that came out saying Woodson was coming back. We've never heard anything official from, like, the athletic director, Scott Dolson at Indiana, saying that Woodson's back. So there's a possibility Woodson still could be gone. But I do think that he deserves credit for the improvement of Khalil Ware. He's deserved the credit of the improvement of Malik Renew. And, I mean, Indiana has had the injury to Xavier Johnson. There are certain things that have prevented Indiana from being better than they are, or they have been this season. So, I mean, I get why they're keeping him, but I do get your point as well. They could have moved on, but it's interesting. Jackson says, from 3-5 start of the season, winning the WCC tournament with a 26-7 record. What an amazing turnaround by the St. Mary's Gales. And it just goes to show that just because you start the season out bad doesn't mean it's over. I mean, obviously, if you start out the season like 0-15, you're probably not coming back from that. But St. Mary's, 3-5, lost a couple games to some pretty solid squads. It's not over. Randy Bennett, good coach. I mean, can't say enough about what he's done with the Gales. And they were able to turn it around. And to be fair, nothing against the WCC, because like I said, I've rang my praises for it tonight. It's a very underrated league in college basketball that gets most of his attention because of Gonzaga. But outside of San Francisco, Santa Clara, St. Mary's, and Gonzaga, most of the other teams are really bad. I mean, San Diego was decent this season, but like Pacific, Pepperdine, Portland, those teams are awful. So for a team like St. Mary's, when you want to get right after a slow start, play Pacific, play Portland. That should get you back on track because those teams aren't all that good. But yeah, St. Mary's, definitely an impressive turnaround. Monster Meat Mac, again, as he says, he does not like Gonzaga. So that's hilarious. Joy Gent says the Gales still stink big time. Not a fan. Got a lot of people that are not fans of the Gales, which I get. I mean, if you're a Gonzaga fan, they are the arch rival. Totally get it. But the Gales are a great program. Gonzaga, fantastic what Mark Few's done the last 2 decades. Just couldn't get it done in this one. Hummus Hero says St. Mary's is a solid squad. They're fun to watch. I mean, I just feel like St. Mary's is almost doing what Virginia used to do better. Like, I know they don't have as much talent as Virginia's had. I know that St. Mary's has never gone as far as Virginia has in the tournament, like Tony Bennett did, and Virginia was able to win a national title the one year. But what Virginia's been doing the last couple years is not all that good. And St. Mary's is just kind of doing it better. Like, they're playing methodical, but they still can speed it up when needed. And their defense is stellar. Virginia's got to get back to being what Virginia used to be if they want to join what St. Mary's is currently doing, and being kind of like the outlier team. You don't have to be run and gun, but you can be a slower paced team and still have success. Join Jensen, the Zags had a real sting every game. Nobody shot well. Nembhard did early, but then Nembhard just kind of fell apart in the second half. He passed well, but then once he knew he needed to score to win, it just never got going for him. Yeah, and Join Jen says right here, St. Mary's will never be elite, too much like Virginia. That's true, but it's not only the fact that it's because they're like Virginia. It's because of the fact St. Mary's is a small school. I know Gonzaga is too, but like, I just don't think St. Mary's is even on the level of Gonzaga. Like, their home arena, student body, it's just a lot smaller than Gonzaga's. Gonzaga's is already small, but I don't even know if they have like as much money, for like athletics as Gonzaga does. Like, Randy Bennett works with less. So to your point, Join Jen, completely agree. St. Mary's is not going to probably ever be elite. But for what they are, they're elite for what they are. The type program that they are, an under-heralded, underrated program, they're the elite of that group. They do that type of program better than any other program. at this stage, as long as Randy Bennett's there. Once he's gone, they might fall into obscurity. Maybe they'll hire a good coach and continue to win. Who knows? But that's why they'll probably never be elite. But I do agree. And their style of play kind of does prevent it as well, to your point. Jen says Zags had a great game versus San Fran. They stink tonight. I mean, St. Mary's is better than San Francisco as well. I mean, San Francisco is a good team. I like San Francisco as a program. I mean, they've had a history. They won those 2 titles back in the 50s. And, you know, they had Todd Golden, and they had success with him at coach. Now they have Chris Gerlufsen at coach. He's solid, doing a solid job continuing the success. But I think St. Mary's is just better than San Fran. Probably helps for sure. Jackson says, agree, Jed. If it weren't for the missed free throws by St. Mary's, it would have been much worse for Gonzaga. Yeah, I mean, it could go either way. Like, if Gonzaga hit all their free throws, it could have gone down to the wire. If St. Mary's had hit all their free throws, the game would have been over. Dave Lynn says, Nora Ferd Met. I meant to say both the schools are probably one and done for sure. So, I mean, it was a fantastic game. I mean, I think that Gonzaga underperformed in this one. I think that that's going to turn a lot of people away from the Zags and thinking they might be able to make a run. I wouldn't count Gonzaga out, though. They could still make a run in the tournament. There's still a possibility of it. They have a good team. But they played very well for about a month until this game. I don't know. This game just kind of exposed the old problems that Gonzaga had earlier in the season. I mean, the Zags struggled to shoot the ball early in the season. They were shooting the ball a whole lot better recently, and then this game happened. They really struggled. So we'll see if Gonzaga can turn it around by the NCAA tournament, you know, get their stride back, figure out a way to start knocking their threes down again. And EK has to stay out in foul trouble. EK cannot be in foul trouble in their NCAA tournament game, no matter who they're playing. But the Zags fell short to the St. Mary's Gales in the WCC championship game, 69-60. What a job by Randy Bennett. The Gales won their second WCC title in the last 5 years, ending the Zags' 5-game win streak in the WCC title game. It was a fantastic game, but appreciate everybody for being here. Hummus Hero wrapping it up says, thanks for the stream, Jeffrey. Great fun as always. Everyone have a great night. The madness begins soon. Absolutely, Hummus Hero. The madness begins soon. I will be back for more live streams soon, probably maybe for the conference championship games, maybe for some March Madness games. It's going to be a blast. More videos are coming out this week, more shorts. It's going to be a lot of fun. Steven Cherry says, great job, Jeffrey. Good night. Appreciate everybody for being here. Like the stream down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Share the stream out on social media. But again, thanks everybody for being here. Couldn't do it without you guys. And we will be back soon for more live streams. And we'll have more videos coming out in the coming days and weeks. It's going to be a blast. Can't wait for March Madness. But thanks for being here, everybody. Congratulations